Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Kennebunkport Board of Select meeting on July 9th, 2026. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Would you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So I'll take a motion to approve the June 16th, 2026 and June 25th, 2026 Select Board meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor? And any discussion? In favor? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to open a public forum. So this is an opportunity for anyone to address the Board of Selectmen with anything that's not on the agenda tonight. If you have one, come to the mic.
State your beef, isn't that what they usually say?
Anyone on Zoom? Okay. All right. Moving on, item 5. We're going to be opening a public hearing to consider the new victor's license for Danny Smith, DBA Chef Dan Smith. He's recently went before the planning board and received approval to do a small catering, food preparation, and ice cream production in his home. The town has reviewed this and recommended approval of the license. So at this point, I'm opening the public hearing for anyone that would like to ask questions or make comments. Is Dan here? Would you like to come up and tell us a little bit about what you...
Good evening, I'm Dan Smith. We recently moved to 331 Goose Rocks Road a couple years ago.
You can lift it.
Is this better?
Yeah. You can pull it right up.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, I'm Dan Smith. We recently moved to 331 Goose Rocks Road a couple years ago from Western Mass. I own a restaurant there. My plan is to do small catering business, like dinner parties, from say 15 to and other gatherings, no more than 50 people probably, and prepared meals out of our house along with small production of ice cream. All of the ice cream and the prepared meals and the dinner parties are going to be, say, prepped there and then taken off-site and finished off-site at either the guest homes or a meeting place for sales.
Yeah, so I noticed in your license that that's exactly what it is. It's just you're doing food prep there.
Yeah.
And then everything is going strictly to a
Yeah,
catering to
the
off-site.
prepared meals possibly once a week once I get started, and the dinner parties no more than probably 1 or 2 a week. So not full-size catering business, but a little smaller scale out of our house.
But the prepared meals are like individual meals? I mean, tell me more about, so you can have a distribution center somewhere else?
Yeah, my idea was so individual prepared meals, order more than one if you prefer. And then say set up a possible meetings place, Cape Porpoise, Kennebunkport, whatever we figure out that works for, a parking lot setup that works for the local business too. And have people meet me there for pickup, say once a week.
Interesting.
John, are you asking for a menu? Is that where you were headed?
The ice cream.
I'm going to be working on the website next after all the approvals.
Yeah, the ice cream got my attention, so.
Yeah, John is an ice cream aficionado. Okay, so thank you, Dan.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Yep, so I'm going to ask if there's any public comments, questions? Anyone online, Mike? Okay. At this point, I'm going to close the public hearing, seeing no comments, and I will entertain a motion from a board member.
I'd like to move to approve the victor's license for Danny Smith doing business as Chef Dan Smith.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Thanks, Dan. All right. Galen, let's talk about land use ordinance change regarding ZBA Board of Appeals and the stormwater regulations for the November ballot.
Good evening, board members.
Hello, Galen.
So after last meeting, we did get some feedback from the board on some changes you'd like to discuss. So I broke it down into 3 different sections for you. The first being, I know that there was, the select board wanted to go back and see if the threshold of 800 square feet made sense for the town. I'm not sure if you have any other additional feedback for that. Certainly, you can look to expand that number if you wish, or look at a certain period of time if you want it to trigger for a longer period of time or a shorter period of time for the 800 cumulative amount. So that's something for a discussion point for you all tonight. The second point I wanted to make to you is about the feedback received about planning board approval for any new driveway or roadway that is going to expand and create nonconformities. So what we did with this is we kept the driveways going back to the code enforcement officer for review. But what we did was, it basically, if it created any nonconformity, it would have to go to get a practical difficulty variance from the zoning board of appeals, and that would be the common practice to go about whenever a setback or a new setback would create nonconformity in town. So that's our way of addressing that concern. And then I also.
So we're not having the 100-foot, do we have a number in there, or what's triggering it?
No, so it basically, it reverts back to what was always prior. So it was, the code enforcement officer can approve driveways that are associated with up to 2 units.
Yes.
So that's staying the same. Basically, the only time it's going to go to the ZBA is if they create a new right-of-way. Whenever you have a new right-of-way in town, it creates a setback because it's in our ordinances. Any vehicular right-of-way creates a setback. So if a new vehicular right-of-way is installed, so not just for a single family, but if basically 2 units are using that driveway, that creates a new right-of-way, and that has a new setback associated with it of 20 feet. So sometimes that can create nonconformity in another lot or on current structures that are on the lot.
So that's the change, or?
That's the change, is it would go to the zoning board of appeals for a practical difficulty variance.
Versus where would it go now?
Right now, there is no review.
So anytime anyone gets a right-of-way that's meant for a car or something
Yep.
driven,
It's silent right now.
it's silent right now?
Yep.
Okay, so this gets us to them cutting through, putting in a road driveway, and then get you your setbacks for whoever the butters are or whatever's going on near that area. I think that's,
It reduces the amount that's going to the planning board or other agency. It's done administratively.
yes.
But it has to be 2 units, it's not for a single?
Correct. Yeah, because a right-of-way, you would need a right-of-way if you're not using it for your own property, like if it's used to get access to the back of the
So
lot for
different from
another
a
property owner.
driveway, basically.
So it's somebody builds a house in the front,
Yep,
and then there's a piece of land lock in the back.
Yep.
That back party wants to build, needs a driveway right away through that front lot.
yep. So
And
that
then-
would be administratively done through the code enforcement officer,
Yes.
but it would have to go to the ZBA if that new right-of-way is creating nonconformity issues for abutting lots or that present lot for structures that are associated with it.
Okay,
And how would it create nonconformity?
Because when the new right-of-way is created, it creates a arbitrary 20-foot
But
setback.
Something
Yep.
might fall in that
so
buffer.
somebody,
Yeah.
but the issue that was brought up was the 100-foot driveway,
Yep,
having to go to the planning board on a single-family home.
Yeah.
That is all gone.
that's gone.
Good.
Yep. It's administratively through the code enforcement office. That's what it normally is
So
right
you're gonna
now.
put in a 100-foot driveway, you have to do what?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It's
You
you
do
go
nothing.
get a building permit like you do
Okay.
and land use
No
permit.
one's gonna come in with a measuring tape and go, this is 120, therefore
No.
we're going to planning board.
Nope.
Unless you live on Beechwood.
on the
Beach-
corner of,
I
more
measured that driveway.
specifically, the corner
That's what's
of,
driving
I
this.
think you need to recuse yourself.
Right, the current practice stays in place.
okay, perfect.
So
All
I
right.
have an issue with the 800 square feet. I just don't think it's big enough. I think it should be at least 1,000. Anybody else want to say anything?
Yeah, so you got, you can't, people can't, no, so Galen, are we on the 800? Were you teeing up the 800?
It's at 800. I left that the same. I knew that the select board wanted to go back and do research and
Yep.
come back to the
So
table.
can we, are we okay to talk about that now?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
talk.
so go ahead, Alan. Can you get closer to the mic, Alan, so people can hear you?
See, you brought that up to talk about, and I thought we were done with what you were talking
Sorry, you got it.
So that's why I brought it up. 800 square feet, I just don't think is big enough to be able to do much. So I would like to see 1,000 feet.
What is the size of a standard two-car garage?
600 square feet, that's why we did 800, was with the
Yeah.
ADU and
For the ADU, yeah.
that it gives you,
So what's your thought, what's the difference between 800 and 1,000? 800, it's larger than a two-car garage, so certainly somebody adding a garage wouldn't fall in there.
This,
Well, what I'm saying is, you know, if you're looking at a building that's 800 square feet, it's not very big. And I don't think that if you added 1,000 feet, it'll give more flexibility to be able to do this without having all the other issues go along with it.
So you're looking to potentially cut down on the number of people that get caught in and have to come through the process, right?
Yeah,
For both people and for town processing.
But my thinking on this is the difference if someone's adding something, extending something on an existing building, or they're building a whole new structure. And if they're building a whole new structure, for me, I think that ought to be reviewed. If they're just adding a garage, then, you know, the 800 square feet would allow that to pass through pretty smoothly.
But
So-
I'm thinking house, a home is what I'm thinking. I don't think that they should have to jump through all these hoops to build a small home. Because I don't think it's gonna be, the stormwater I don't think it's gonna be as bad with 1,000 square feet versus 800 square feet. I just don't think so. I just think that
Well, it's just a matter of picking
it's
a
just a
number,
lot,
yeah.
this is a lot more paperwork
So,
for
so part
somebody
of,
to do.
yeah, part of it comes into like everything, right? So what are you, the team picked the point of
What's the intent? Yeah.
of a size, right? So it wasn't whether or not you're sitting, it wasn't like you did a perk test and you have to see whether or not this area is draining. You're not looking at anything environmental. You're just saying, you're making your distance or you're making your decision based on drainage and impact on size of a building that's going in. And it's arbitrarily picked because of what Galen said. It correlates with the ADU. But it's not something that you get to 800 square feet and you've got a problem with drainage on properties now. Like, there's no science behind it, right? It's just an arbitrary number that coincides with the ADU. So the difference between 800 and 1,000 is, we're just basically picking a number.
Yeah, right. I thought the number was reasonably picked, but that's fair. I don't,
So I went back and I watched that joint meeting. And that discussion was about the 800 square feet that this was gonna be a townwide ordinance applied to everyone in town, regardless of how much acreage they had. So 800, and that if you had 800 square feet or more, you were gonna have to come up with a stormwater management plan to be presented. And the pushback was that a uniform standard of 800 square feet on people who have 3 acres, 5 acres, an acre, is not, and making them, and you know, the guy who came and presented said, look, you could do various ways of dealing with this. It was $3,000 to $4,000 in civil engineering costs. There was maybe $6,000 to $8,000 in doing rain gardens or whatever, and then you're gonna have to maintain the rain gardens. These are all costs that are getting put onto people. And the conversation was, look, if people building $1 million homes in this town, they can absorb those costs. And my argument is that there are people in the town who have been here for generations or just newcomers who don't have $1 million to build a home and they want to do something. And to put an extra $8,000, $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 on them is, you can't argue affordability is an issue in this town and then keep putting more dollars on people. So what is, if you have an acre, which is, what, 45,000 square feet? 800 square feet is not a lot of space on that lot. And I don't see how 800 square feet is going to impact the drainage off of that lot. We have lots that are higher than others, they're draining down into people below, but we have lots that are all flat, out in forest, you know, farm and forest and free enterprise. I get down at Goose Rocks or in the village where they're tight lots, this, and with the new density coming that this may be an issue, but there's a vast majority of this town that this is not an issue for. And so my concern is more about what the costs are gonna be put on people. And as he also
But-
said, you're going to have to maintain it every year, which is more cost. We don't even have the employees to handle all
But
this.
the costs you mentioned are high, but that's if you have an issue, if there needs to be mitigation. And if there does, then there needs to be mitigation. This is just saying you need to just check, you need to have to be looked at to see
I-
if there's an issue that then would go to the higher
So
expense.
I
and-
don't understand,
Because there
though,
is an issue.
my argument, I'm with Alan, 1,200 square feet. I mean, could you put a small, single-family home on an acre lot and not be impacting this with this?
Could-
It
At
depends on
800
the-
At 800, you could not, probably, because you probably could, so let's ask this question. When you do the square footage of a house or a building, let's just call it a house. What's the square, if I say I'm gonna build a 1,500 square foot house, it's 2 stories, so it's 750 on each,
Yep.
is it 750?
It's the footprint of.
Of the
yeah,
first
yep,
floor?
the structure. Yep.
Of the basement.
Yep.
So, I mean, 1,000 or 1,200 is not unreasonable.
I don't think it is.
So just to clarify too, because from the GPC, the joint GPC BOS meeting that we had that David was referencing, you did change where the rural areas, so
Yep,
the 3
they're
acre
exempt.
plus are
Right.
exempt.
Yep.
Right, so
Right.
that
So they're
did get
exempt.
changed from
That's right.
that. But it is, but no, David, I'm not
Yeah.
discounting your points, I'm just making sure that the full board understands that that one rural change was captured. But, so what is so is it now it's just dependent on zoning that you're in? So if you're not in rural, you're in growth
Yeah,
or
you're in the other,
transition?
you're in the other
Transition.
zones, and so it would based off the footprint of the structure that's being proposed is
Right.
what we'd be calculating. Not the total 2
Not
floors, just the first.
The basement, let's call it the
Yeah,
foundation.
Again, if 1,000 makes you happy, I just believe that we need to have something where at least it is looked at when someone is building within the growth and the transition, the potential water impact needs to be looked at. And now we're just talking about what's the level at which we trigger it.
And there's
And
no
if
argument.
1,000 makes a big difference to you, then that's great. for me.
So, Joe, where are you on this?
I got 2 questions. One question, one observation. Maybe the second one's a question. Are ADUs exempt from this?
No.
No.
Well, so that sort of does fly in the face of the whole idea that we're trying to make affordable housing, but we're adding a cost onto the affordable housing. Now, the other point is, though, what I think the current situation or the past situation may have been is people went in and developed and built houses like Elizabethan, Oakwood, all those highland houses on that side of Ocean. And I think maybe they might have only had to have, mitigation plans or approvals for individual houses, or maybe 2 or 3 houses at a time. And then you have a whole neighborhood of houses, and there is no comprehensive plan, so everything is running down
To that base house.
into the base house, and across Ocean, and so it's a tough problem, but I think if, just where does I lied, now I have 3 questions. Where'd 800 come from?
Yeah, the 800 came from, the ADU size is 800 square feet. So you'll notice in there that there are provisions that if it's less than 800 square feet and it's a dwelling, so i.e. an ADU, they only have to meet lid standards, so it's not, you don't need engineered plans, it's just use best management practices on the site. It's getting people to start thinking about how they're controlling their water on their premise. That's something that the town has not done in the past, so people just divert their water onto their neighbor's property and cause issues. So that's a less strenuous level for the ADUs. I wanted to preface that. It's when you get over that 800 square feet is where there's the engineered study to look at it.
I think I agree with everybody, because what I've heard is 1,000 sounds a lot better than nothing. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, 1,000 as the standard is better than no standard at all. And I think Alan and David, you all said you could live with 1,000, or?
I can live with 1,000. I question whether this couldn't also be addressed by lot size.
By lots, I don't see how it
If you are on
affects lot
2
size.
acres, I don't know if you need to put this on someone.
Again, if it's an easy fix, it's not gonna be that much money if there's not an issue. The only time you're getting the big money is you need a rain garden, but that means you had an issue. And so if you wanna move forward, you do need the rain garden. If you don't have an issue,
I'm just coming back, John, to the fact you cannot keep arguing affordability issues in this town and keep putting incrementally increasing fees and other costs onto the development of a house, because then it does become unaffordable for the average person to be able to
So-
afford to move.
So I think
understand
it-
that.
You have to look at it
balance.
comprehensively.
So I think, this goes back to what we're picking, right? So we're picking a size, and we're picking a size, and we're picking a zone, building zone, and saying, okay, this applies into that. And I think what I think I'm hearing from David and potentially Joe and Alan is, you can have a 3-acre lot within those zones, or a 1-acre lot, and 800 square feet on the 1-acre lot. To John's point is, I think it's almost like we need that next level. So I think when we've been looking at all these various ordinances, I think the problem I see our board having is, to David's point, is we're putting on regulations, but we're doing things because we do have issues in the town. We do have water drainage, the roads and developments that Joe pointed out, those are real issues. And so we do know that we need to address something. So do we need to add lots? Is it possible to add a lot size with 1,000 foot? Would that make sense? Because John, then if somebody could handle it if they got a 1-acre lot, they should be able to handle their.
it's
And
even
above-
worse on the smaller lot. If they had a 3-acre lot, they still could put it right next to the edge of the lot, and it could be an issue on the person juxtaposed. Again, this is just saying, look at it, see if there's an issue.
But this
If
is
there
also an ordinance, John. This isn't just looking at it. This becomes the law. And
No,
as
no,
we're gonna be
this is a
discussing
law,
later,
but it
laws
says
come
you
back to
just
bite.
need to have an assessment. You look at it.
But you still
So
have to
certainly
do-
you can decide on lot size if that's something you want to look at. I will say the smaller the lot that it gets harder to do BMPs on the lot to try to
Right.
design it. The other thing, I think that the GPC has had a productive conversation about this topic. And it's really about, what is the objective of the town to address stormwater? Stormwater does roll downhill, and every little bit does impact the overall town. And so how are we going to take those first steps to address it? Certainly cost is associated. There's cost to developing any time in town. And you have to weigh out what the impact could be potentially to the community when you look at these regulations. So certainly, I think it's a reasonable conversation to have.
Well, somebody that's building an 800 square foot or 1,000 square foot home to live in probably doesn't have the extra $10,000 to $12,000 to go ahead and do all those things.
It's not $10,000 or $12,000.
It could be.
If there's an issue. But if there's an issue, there's an issue. Then you shouldn't build there. That's the point. If you're gonna create a problem, you say to have affordability, we'll just create problems, that doesn't make sense.
So when we brought it with the joint meeting, we did hear from the GPC, and, on the GPC committee, that I sit with the rest of the committee, that it has been what we're trying to address. And when we started talking about 1829 and, the density bills coming at us and what could happen in the port, what could happen, into this, we were, in the back of our mind, we were thinking we had something to at least help us with one of the big issues that we have in the port right now and in major areas of town, which is water runoff. So I think, I'm not sure if we're just not there yet. I don't know. I don't want to kick the can, but if there's a different way, if we feel that there's some other things, language that needs to be added or something else, if we took a vote, I'm not quite sure we're there right now.
Well, if we made it 1,000, could I make a motion that we change it to 1,000 square feet and see if that's then allows us to move forward. I think it's important to have it.
Is there a way, Galen, to do this, look at this, let's say you go to 1,000 square feet, and then put another layer on top of it that also takes into consideration, maybe in a lot size we've already got rural, farm and forest out of this. Is there a way to look at that within free enterprise, that all of a sudden, if the lot size is within free enterprise, that's out of waived. If, as you get closer into the center of town or down to Cape Porpoise or Goose Rocks Beach, then 1,000 is the standard, and we don't have a lot size issue. I mean, is there a way to sort of craft it? That I just don't want to see this be a blanket thing across the entire town, when in many cases it's an important issue, but it's not an issue that impacts every lot in this.
And the second question, maybe before answering Dave's, is, like somebody said, this is an ordinance change, right? So this becomes the law. Is there a way to pressure test? Is there a way to come in without an ordinance change and I have zero idea of how to do this, but is there a way to do something without making an ordinance change where we could be getting information and seeing what houses would or would not, or hey, you might have a runoff issue, we should take a look at it and work with the homeowners or the developers, or is that there's just no path to the sea on that one?
Yeah, you can certainly, if you want to take the first stab at it, what you could do is, instead of requiring a pre and post development, you can at least ask them to look at what the best management practices are for LID, for the low impact development standards, for Maine DEP. That's what we required for less than 800 square feet. So it has a manual, it shows you what kind of BMPs you can use in place. However, you're not going to get numbers and figures to say, okay, is this really needed for this site?
There's
Yeah,
It's
no
just
teeth
best
in that,
management
Yeah,
practices.
so it's just, so it's just best management, no way
Right.
to get data to say whether or not this
Yeah.
is impacting or,
You can certainly make a lot requirement of, if it's, less than 40,000 square feet, because that's the minimum lot size for most areas, that it triggers there too. So there's multiple avenues you can go about doing this. It's all what your objective,
When do you need this by?
I
When
think
do we need
it's
this by?
soon, isn't it?
Well, we
We've
would
sent
be
it to attorney.
looking to go through legal review between now and August 13th.
so we sort of like stagger things through legal review, so. Okay, so
We
to
have
the
a
board,
motion.
we have a motion on the table
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to change it from 800 square feet to 1,000,
Yes.
okay? First and second, any discussion?
I just don't want it to be, then it's a done deal. Like, we're not gonna have this other conversation.
Well, it's a done deal because it would be going
Okay.
into, well, no, I'm just saying it would be a done deal because this is a motion for the ordinance. Is there an appetite to add some kind of language for lot size within these zones? John, would you amend your,
Well, I don't know I don't know how to, we'd have to delay it then to add that language. That would be the idea?
Yeah, to have a discussion as to what.
As long as we can get it done in time, I would think that could make sense on a larger lot, to have a staggered, nothing in farm and forest, a little more restriction in transition, but hard look in growth. We probably ought to take the time to get it right.
okay, so let's.
So I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, and then the action would be to come up with that tiered approach, which takes the 1,000 feet and makes it, I think what I heard is sort of a hard stop in growth area. And then in transition, we would want it to marry with the lot size. Or
But how would
like
you
you said, it
suggest
would
that?
be the soft lead, the soft lead transition like the ADUs. I think we have to think about that middle transition. And then that gets us to rural, which is if you're on your 3 acres, you're on your own. Okay? All right, so if there's a way to bring that back so we can get it into, if we get it into the August, if there's any way to get it back for the August meeting and then we can get it into the legal queue, that would be great.
Okay.
Thanks, Galen.
Yep. The other thing I wanted to mention to you all is, in my memo, I mentioned, with the road standards, just to make you aware of this, I did clarify the units to reflect, the changes in dwelling. So they had, if you had 2 single families or a 2-family, with the way the state is changing it based off dwelling units, the number of dwelling units, I just clarified it that it's 2 dwelling units for the driveway, 3 dwelling units in total meet this standard, and 4 dwelling units or more meet this standard. So I just wanted to make that clear to you. It's a
And a
clarifying.
dwelling unit, again, was a residence, not a separate building.
It's a dwelling unit, it's not an ADU.
A dwelling unit's not an ADU.
So 2 units could be a duplex.
Correct.
Yes.
Your language was
Or-
very single-family development focus and 2-family development focus, and with the state changing it to housing types, I just clarified the language. We've always, followed that as a guideline. The other thing I wanted to make note, and I did not make this change, but I want to make you aware of it, you do not have commercial standards for road. I think by default it goes to the 4+ units, but you technically don't have anything that addresses that. So I did not make any changes, but I wanted to make you aware of that you may
For
want to look
future.
at that
Yep.
moving forward for clarifying. And then last but not least, I did get rid of the buffering requirements in the stormwater provisions, so I want to make sure that was,
What-
So
what-
is
What'd you just say?
the-
I got rid of the
50 foot,
buffering
the 50
requirement.
The 50 foot.
buffer.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, Galen, is there a way, because I think we talked about the first part of this ordinance, where we're just changing goes to the ZBA instead of
Mhm.
or goes away from the
To
ZBA
the planning board.
to the planning board. Is there a way that we can, because we're all in agreement on that, we can take a motion on that, if we can separate that and get that portion to legal? Is that something we can do, or do you just want to hold the whole thing?
Yeah, we could do that, yeah.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to,
You're fine with the provisions about the road standards in the ZBA. We'll just get you back on the stormwater.
yeah. So I will take a motion. Do I need a motion to go to? Lori?
I think it would be helpful, based
Okay.
on all the conversation.
Okay, so I will take a motion to approve the land use ordinance update for, what do you want me to call that part, Galen?
So it would be the definitions, the Article 4, Article 6 for the road standards, which is 6.14, and then Article 7, Article 9, and I think that's it. Article 10. Oh, no, sorry, not Article 10 yet. Just Article 9.
Okay, so Article 4, 7, and Article 9,
Yep, and 6.14, which is your road standards.
and 6.14.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve, to go to legal review, the ordinance changes to 6.14, Article 4, Article 7, Article 9 of our land use ordinance.
So
Okay.
moved.
Any seconds?
Second?
All in favor? Well, I should have said any discussion.
You can
Okay.
say that now.
All right,
You're the chair, you can say anything.
well, that was fun.
So can I pause?
Yeah.
So this is Galen's last meeting.
No, so I was gonna ask.
And although we've given him all this direction on stormwater, Galen will be gone by the time you meet again in August.
That's why he
And
said yes so quickly.
That's, yeah, you're like,
you're like, whatever you want.
We didn't even beat
I'll be
him
there
up
in
or
spirit.
anything.
That's right. He'll be home watching us on Zoom.
Yeah.
So I just think it may be worthwhile, since our new director will be coming in fresh on this, that we might have a board or 2 member sit with Galen on this language to send to Amy before he leaves.
And what,
Okay.
your last day is August
3rd.
3rd.
Yeah, so I can sit
And
if
hopefully
David,
the
you
new
want to?
guy doesn't watch tonight, so he still comes.
When is he gonna show up?
The 20th.
The 20th?
Before, yeah.
And so you'll have some time to spend with him,
Yes,
right?
2
Yeah.
weeks
Good,
overlap.
that's good.
It is.
Okay, so
Some time to warn him.
so this is your last board? No, he'll
No,
be here
this
for
is-
August meeting or
No,
no?
he
I'm
won't.
not here
No,
in
he
August.
won't. Well, Galen, I want to say on behalf of the board that we've enjoyed so much working with you and what you've done for our town. And I've been on the GPC committee meeting with you, and it's been fantastic. And I've been through a couple legal battles with you, and it was good to have you on our team. So on behalf of the board and probably all our residents, we greatly thank you, and we wish you well for your next journey, and it's an exciting one. So if you'll all rise and join me with applause.
Thank you, Board. It's definitely been an honor and a pleasure to serve with you all. As you know, I am going into ministry. I'm going to seminary in the Episcopal Church. And so I think it's actually enlightening that, working for a select board, many folks don't realize the origins of a select board. It actually originated back in the Church of England for the vestry. And so that tradition was brought to America by the Puritans, and they created the select board based off that vestry. So I think I got a great experience working with a town form of government, and I appreciate the experience and the opportunity to serve.
Thank you.
And there's
Thank you,
just
Galen.
just as much politics in the church.
All right. I don't know, I think we're done for tonight, right? Is that it? Oh, wait, there's more. Okay. All right, let's move on to item 7. Is this Galen again?
Just maybe bring Galen again.
It's planning and development with Nadia.
Nadia, hello. So we are
tag
going to
teaming.
discuss the discussion of electronic submissions and public portal for planning and development. Over to you, Nadia.
All right, let me get set up here. Can you guys hear me through this?
Yes, a little louder.
Little louder.
Little closer.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Works.
We're working.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
Good evening, Select Board. My name is Nadia Crockett-Current. I'm the Code and Planning Coordinator here in town, and I'm here to present to you tonight our request to go completely paperless with building permits in the Code Enforcement Department. I'm going to talk about a couple things today, mainly the benefits of GovWell, which is our current permitting software, and the challenges that we've experienced with keeping paper code enforcement records. So to get started with a couple of the benefits of GovWell, one of the biggest things that we appreciate and that we have heard good feedback from residents and contractors with is the ability to see real-time status updates on their permit application. Before going to GovWell, we got a lot of calls into our office, people saying, what's the status of my permit? Has it been reviewed? Is it with the code officer? This is helpful. They can see if it's with the code officer, how long it's been with them, if any action is required on their part. In that vein, it does facilitate communication between the code enforcement officer and the applicants. The code enforcement officer can leave comments directly on the permit application. The applicant can see those, respond to them, and upload any documents as needed. And there's an easy back and forth that's recorded, so there's no lost communication. The applicants, when they're submitting a permit originally, are informed of any conditions that have been placed on that property. So this is a nice communication between planning board and code enforcement, where if the planning board or ZBA, or even a past code enforcement decision has placed a condition on a property, an applicant will see that as a pop-up if they go to apply for a building permit. So that kind of informs them about any potential hurdles to their permit process. Inspections can be scheduled through GovWell directly through the permit site, basically. So they don't have to remember their permit number as they do currently for our Calendly scheduling. They don't need to remember any other information. They just hit a button that says schedule, they pick the time, and that's it. Our code officer knows where to go, knows what the permit type is, and it's all completely streamlined in that way. All building permits that are submitted on a property are linked together in GovWell, so the code enforcement officer can see, as soon as they get a building permit in, they can easily see on the property page any building permits, any planning board applications that have been submitted through that property. So it keeps everybody well informed about what's going on with building permits or any other things going on with that property. And then lastly, the GovWell system is helpful it guides applicants through the submission process if they're doing it at home. And of course, our town staff is always available to help people with the application process. We have a kiosk in the codes office, so if someone doesn't have internet at home or doesn't have access to a computer, they can come into the office and we can help them with that process there as well. That includes, we can upload documents for them, anything that needs to get done, we can help with in our office. So those are some of the benefits. This is just some trend information that we've been seeing in the past 3 months that we've been live with GovWell. We went live with GovWell around the middle of May. In May, we had 98 permits submitted, 17% of which were submitted exclusively through GovWell. That means the applicant created an account, they created the permit application, and they submitted it entirely through their account. It's a pretty low percentage for May, but again, we started kind of in the middle of the month, and people were still getting used to it. In June, we saw that number jump quite a significant jump to 50% of permits submitted in June being submitted exclusively through GovWell. And July has, it's kind of just gotten started so far, but we're a little over a week in, and so far 100% of the permit applications that have been submitted have been submitted exclusively through GovWell. We technically are still accepting paper permits at this time, so someone can come and drop off a paper permit, and our admin assistant enters that into GovWell and gets that system rolling for the applicant. I do want to be clear that all permits do go into GovWell. If someone submits a paper permit to us, we simply put it into GovWell, and they're still in GovWell for the process. This is what we're asking is to remove that paper permit option. Again, we're always there to help residents, we're there to help contractors, anybody that comes in and needs help, but we would remove the paper permit option. We also have noticed that 75% of payments for permits that have been submitted since we went live with GovWell have been made online by the applicant. That tells us that applicants appreciate the convenience of having GovWell as an option. They can just go on to the website and submit the payment either via ACH or credit card. We still accept checks and cash in the office. We're not planning to change that in any way. Anyone can come in to pay for their permit in the office, and we'll process it there for them for no fee. This is just to highlight for the board that it has been a convenience for people, and people are taking advantage of that. So we're going to move quickly to see what the user sees on their side to show you how it's convenient for the user as well. So if you give me 1 second to change the screen I'm sharing.
And so Nadia, while you're doing that, do you have information on the split between contractors versus residents and their ways of submissions? Or
I don't have that information. I will say it's been a mix. Just similar to when we were doing paper permits, I would say we see the same mix of contractors and residents submitting permits.
I mean the people that are using GovWell. Is it more contractors or more residents, or is it a mix of both
It's a mix of both.
Okay, that is using
Yep.
GovWell. Okay.
And GovWell looks exactly the same for both groups of people.
Right.
The only difference with a contractor is we would assume that they would maybe have more building permits that are active on their account, so they might see more.
Right.
So this is the user view. This is not my staff account. This is my user account signed in, so you can see what it looks like. You can imagine that I'm a contractor here because you can see that there's multiple different addresses. We're going to look at two different steps in the applicant process. The first one being a response to a comment left by a code enforcement officer, and therefore the need to update a plan. So when someone opens the project, they are taken right to the page where they need to do an action. In this case, it's the files page because they're responding to the code enforcement officer comment. The action button is bright orange. It's easy to see and kind of directs you in that direction. We can see that the code officer has left one comment, so we can open that up. It's a test comment that I left. The applicant can respond to that comment here. They can hit OK. And then those comments are responded to. The next step, they just need to upload any documents that the code enforcement officer asked for. So we'll go ahead and Upload a document here. And once they pick the documents they need to upload, they simply create the next version of the plan set. And now this has been bounced back to the code enforcement officer. So it's a quick and easy upload and process for the applicant. If there's more comments, there may be more time spent responding to them or gathering materials needed. But the actual act of responding to comments or uploading the documents is quite straightforward and easy to see where that needs to happen. Again, these things can be done in our office. The kiosk is fully operatable for any GovWell account. The nice thing about GovWell is you don't have any passwords or anything. It's just a link sent directly to your email. And you can click that link from a phone or another device, so you're not signed into your email on a public computer. So there's no, you're not left signed in on the computer for other people to see your information. The other thing that we expect people to do most through the GovWell system is schedule inspections. Right now we're using Calendly to schedule inspections. People can do that on our website. There's links that direct them to the code enforcement officer's calendars to schedule those inspections. Through GovWell, again, they would just open up whatever project they're working on. This is the scheduling page. You can see it took me right to the inspections page. One of the things we like about GovWell is it shows the applicant what inspections they'll need for their project and in which order those should be done. Something that we've experienced in the past through scheduling with Calendly is that sometimes, you know, if it's someone who doesn't do a lot of projects, they don't necessarily know which inspection they need to do first, and so they might be kind of mixed up in the order of inspections that they're doing. So this is nice. It has it all laid out. And to schedule is they just click the schedule button and they can see all the available times during whichever week they've clicked that there is availability for them to schedule that inspection. So that's the user side. Is there anything you would want to see before I go back to the presentation?
So I have just one question. When do you plan on stop using the paper applications?
As soon as the board is okay with it.
So what happened? So, you know, we do happen to have people in our town that they don't use a computer. So what are we going to do about that?
So that's why we have had good luck with the kiosk, and we kind of have been experiencing this as we've done Calendly inspections for the past 2 years. We do have a computer set up in our office that people can schedule those inspections at currently. And we found that contractors who aren't comfortable using the computer at home have been comfortable coming into our office to schedule there. And over the past couple of months, as we've been live with GovWell, our administrative assistant has assisted several people in submitting their applications on the computer that's in the code enforcement office. So we do have that kiosk that we intend to keep in perpetuity, that people can come in and they can fill out their building permit with the assistance of our town staff as they need it.
So I would think that we might possibly want to, as anything, before you make a jump from a process, that we might want to have a period of time where we do a notification. So we set a date. If people are comfortable, we set a date. We say, you know, 3 months from now or whatever, you know, we're going to transition to pure. I don't want to do it in the board meeting and say we're done.
Sure.
We have to do a soft landing into it. Or a soft transition. And so I don't know what the right amount, if it's 4 months or 3 months or 6 months, or I don't know what the board's comfortable with. But to Alan's point, you know, we don't want, we've heard this from certain areas when we have gone to digital or paperless. We know as a town, we have to keep driving towards paperless, like, because we can't keep taking the paper on. And this, you gave us the GovWell overview before, so I'm glad to see it's working so well.
Yep.
And there's the uptake. So what's the board's thought on a transition time that you guys would be comfortable with, and notifying the public and then transitioning, or do you have any other issues with a transition full?
What do you see in terms of the activity on GovWell as we get through the summer? Is it summer a low period, a high period? I imagine winter's really a low period, but what do you see?
It's a good question. Interestingly, it's a bit of I would say a medium period in terms of permit submittal. It is a high period in terms of inspections requested, because, you know, most people are looking to get their work done in the summer or the early fall. And so what we tend to see is a huge uptick of permit applications in the spring. And I think that's what you're seeing with the 98 and 90 permit applications in May and June. Those are kind of some busy months for permit received. We do expect to see a high number of inspections throughout the summer.
So
and early fall.
September, October might make sense to me, just as things.
Yeah, and it might be good if we have the bandwidth, I don't know if we do or not, or we have the opportunity, but if somebody is a frequent flyer of paper submissions, you know, either a contractor or a resident, it might be good to sort of, you know, give them a shout out and say, hey, you know, heads up, we're heading, and come on in and we'll walk you through it, you know, just, some people just, to Alan's point, some people just have that initial, hey, this is not what I'm used
Absolutely.
to, I don't have time to learn it, don't want to learn it, leave me alone, you know, go away.
We're happy to go with whatever timeline the board is comfortable with. Just to give some context for outreach that we have done, I realize that this may not be well known to everybody. We did do a contractor day when we started with GovWell. We invited all of the contractors that we could think of that have submitted building permits with us before. We did a tutorial day where we invited everyone to come, and before we went live with GovWell, we showed them how to do it. I would say that in terms of contractors that we receive permits from frequently, most of them at this point are using GovWell exclusively. So I think that that's a reasonable timeline to aim for the end of the summer, and I think that we can expect that to be a smooth transition based on what we've been seeing.
Do you
So,
think that there are some that you might need to reach out to,
And contractors?
who just,
just general,
in general,
frequent paper flyers.
Just to
like
tell them,
really are-
yeah. Well,
like, it would be a special sit-down?
well, you'll send
We can
something to
certainly do
everybody,
a
right?
second tutorial for people. We could do that
So it
before.
would be good to,
going paperless.
on our webpage, if possible, to do the notification, you know, if that's something we can do, Lori.
We can put it in the tax newsletter too.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think more notification of where we're headed, because this is a big change for people.
Yep.
Yeah.
We notified on the website and social media, I believe, when we initially went live with GovWell. So the information has been posted, so I think we've laid some good groundwork there to start
Now we
that
just
Yeah, I have
gotta
a-
get,
educational
now we just gotta get to the
push.
people that
Yep.
aren't on social media, or, you know.
Yeah,
Yes.
Alan's people that he was talking about.
Yeah.
I got three things. No additional cost, right?
Correct.
Okay.
There is, if people choose to pay through GovWell,
Credit
there's
card.
two options.
Yeah,
The credit
I'm not-
card has a fee,
No,
and
but I
there's
mean, it's not gonna cost us
a
anything.
$1 flat ACH fee.
Got it.
Correct.
No,
It
right.
will not cost us
Okay,
anything.
where does
Would-
this,
Can I step in there? It will reduce us eventually, because we get out of the paper storage handling,
yeah,
so
Yeah.
it's a.
I'll
it's
get
a-
to that later in the presentation, the paper.
Well, you might get your answer
Yeah.
right now. so.
well, yeah, where's this stuff backed up?
The GovWell permits?
What, all of it? I mean, if I'm gonna
Uh,
submit no paper and that's, you don't have any supporting documents, then where is it?
So initially, the records are kept in GovWell on their cloud system. We extract those records once a building permit has been issued into our own our own building permit files that are kept on the town's server. And we do back up those files every few months onto physical hard drives in multiple locations.
Okay, and then, maybe it'd be a good idea if I come in and submit a paper packet, that you have some communication to hand to me and say, as of, 1 September, we're not gonna accept paper packets anymore, so this is the new process, and that way you really sort of target, you can do all your other stuff as well, but if I'm handing in a paper building packet, I'm probably not scouring social media or, whatever, the interweb or whatever for my information. So maybe
Sure.
just the old, here's a packet in paper you can take home and read and tell you how to,
We can certainly make
proceed.
some educational materials. We do, when people come to submit a paper permit, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, all permits do get put into GovWell. So we do let people know when they submit a paper permit, this permit will be getting put into GovWell, expect to see an email come through about it. So we've been doing that sort of verbal communication, but I think that's a good idea to
well,
include some.
I think, but that's not, you're not gonna be able to submit another paper permit. That's what I'm talking about, is a communication that says, you've submitted a paper permit on August 1st, and on September 1st, we're not taking paper anymore.
Mhm.
That, I think, makes,
Okay, yeah, we can certainly develop
Let's
some
give ourselves a little
materials.
breathing
Say-
room. Why don't
Well,
we do
I
October
was gonna say
1st?
October 1st.
Yeah, let's
Since
get
we
out
already
of
are
summer.
almost in the middle of
Yeah,
October.
let's do, if the
October.
board's okay, let's do October 1st. And then, Nadi, just in the essence of time of everything, could you come back and show us some more stuff about GovWell?
Yeah, absolutely. you know, if you can communicate with Lori and let me know what
Yep.
exactly you'd like to see about GovWell, I'm
Yep.
happy to create any
should.
presentation that you guys like
Yeah,
to see.
I think more information out to the public about it, because at some point, everybody runs into a permit.
Okay.
Awesome. So you got October 1st as your,
Well, you haven't voted.
oh. All right, so I will entertain a motion for
Very efficient to have a
notifying
dictator.
and transitioning our permitting process from paper to GovWell digital system by October 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
I do have a little bit more in my presentation if you'd like to see it, or.
Once you've
or-
made the sale,
Okay.
you can stop the pitch, okay? That's life advice. You could take,
You got what you wanted.
yeah, because it can only go the wrong way from getting the order.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I try to,
Word
We
to the
love when we
wise.
can
I tried to
provide-
leave the world richer with the mistakes I've made. I'm an example.
Okay. Less is more. I actually
Less
worked
is
with a
more.
guy called Les Moore. So confused. Okay, consider draft language changes regarding the mass gathering ordinance. All right, so let me go through a few things first, if we're okay with that. In front of you and in your packet is the board 2 meetings ago gave direction on language that we wanted to see go in for a November ballot up-down vote. So we discussed the language last meeting, our last board meeting. The board gave direction to take that language and go to take that draft language and get an initial review from legal and get their feedback. So that's what you have in your hand right now. So before we enter into the discussion, I just want to go through a little bit of a process that we're going to change from what we did last time. So remember, timeline-wise, we've got to sign September 1st meeting, so that means we've got this meeting and August meeting before it has to go final to legal review. If we can discuss and agree and get to a point where we're either done and ready to go to legal, that's a goal, that's a win. If we're in the 90 percentile and then we have actions to go and do whatever we need to do to get to that 100% for August, that would be a win too. So if we can keep that in mind while we're talking through to make sure that we're completing our thoughts and getting us to a point. So last time we met, we invited the audience and anyone that phoned in to talk to the board about their viewpoints. And then the board spoke. We had our own discussion, and then we also, attendees came back and spoke also. Tonight, what I'd like to try out doing is first let the board go through our work. So let's go through and process through what we got back from legal. I want to make some comments because you've got another handout from me, which I think after I read the KBA comments, I thought maybe we tripped on something and we needed to go back and do a little cleanup. So I've got something here that I want us to look at. And then before we go into that, and then after that, we're going to open it up so the public can make comments. And then we'll come back again to the board for a final wrap-up and see where we end up after we've got the public. So the public can hear, as John likes to call, our sausage making. And then we will hear from the public, and then we will go back and try to see where we end up this evening. All right, so before we go into the language, a few points from going through the legal and the amendment in total. The amendment in total, we had agreed at a previous meeting that we were going to do the mass gathering total redo, or relook, I should say, for the June ballot, right? So that's a language cleanup. That's to see, are these things relevant? We put on our hats that say this is an ordinance, so 30 years, 40 years, 50 years from now, are we looking at it through that lens, right? So that's what we're going to do for June. given that, what we've already started to talk about and work through is some of this language like commercial versus non-commercial versus mass gathering. That's something that we've got to roll up our sleeves and do for the June, because I think there's some confusion, because really, and I don't want to go deep on this, I'm going to make one comment and then we're going to table that for June. Because really, this ordinance was meant to, in '86, the genesis of it was to talk to spend that was happening at the town and how to control that spend, because it was out of control, right? And so I think that's what we're trying to get back to. So the multiple mass gatherings that were happening back in '86 that don't happen today, and that what this was intended for. So I think we just have to go back. So we just have to go back into that zone and redefine that. So we're not going to touch that language for this one, because this one specifically, we want to put something on the November ballot for prelude language based on the vote that the non-binding discussion or ballot that we had in June, and try to see if we can get something changed for prelude. Okay, so that's one point. The second point, before we go into discussion, is around, we have a lot of discussion, and in our packet, Lori gave us overtime rate versus detail rate. So we are going to have to go and have a union contract discussion. So that will have to happen in a, with the union, maybe some part of an executive session where we're talking about labor rates, et cetera. And so that will happen, but that won't happen here. But we do acknowledge that we do have to do something for this November-ish or this season's timeline for that, if we can make it happen. Okay, so those are two items. One, we're going to work things for June. Second one, we've got to go back. We've got a union contract that dictates rates, and Lori gave you some information there, so we can use that for talking. But those will be things. So now, if we can dig in, and if you will agree, I'd like to go and do the hard stuff first. We have a couple changes up front, but if we jump right to the special event section, and this is where I think we sort of tripped up unintentionally, because what you also have in your handout is the KBA's comment back to us where they gave us A, B, or they gave us two options. But both of them have thoroughly defined prelude. And I think what happened is when we did the legal when we have our first option, when I read KBA's and then reread ours, it appears like if I was not sitting on this board, and if I was somebody else, I'd say possibly they're trying to define prelude, and that has never been our intent, because we don't own prelude. We support prelude, right? So that's not our intent to define it. So if we dial that back, and what I handed out to you was a couple changes. And so in the special events, I'm just going to read through it, and then I'll open it up to you guys to start getting your thoughts. So in the special events section, Section A, notwithstanding any provision of this chapter, I'm reading my update, which there's only a couple changes in it. Notwithstanding any provision of this chapter to the contrary, the annual Christmas, and I took out prelude, I just said the annual Christmas tree lighting, because again, I'm trying to walk away from defining prelude. Our ordinance should not allude to definitions of prelude. KBA owns prelude. KBA should define prelude. So what we're saying is the annual Christmas tree lighting, Cape Porpoise tree lighting, and hat parade conducted during the first weekend of Christmas prelude shall be deemed a mass gathering and a special event, which may be supported by municipal services. For the purpose of this chapter, and I added this special event, and I took out Christmas prelude event because I think that's where we're getting tripped up. If I was not us, I would say you guys are trying to define prelude and we're not. So it says, for the purpose of this chapter, this special event shall be limited to, again, it's under the special event category, 2 tree lighting ceremonies, the first weekend of Prelude, and one parade conducted during the first weekend of Christmas Prelude. So again, we've got to do some language cleanup and maybe get guidance from KBA, because we're saying Prelude and Christmas Prelude, and, I'm not sure which one we should be saying. And then to further make sure that it's very clear that we do not have ownership of Prelude, we do not define Prelude, we do not, I added a sentence in to this paragraph that says, all other Christmas Prelude events are outside this divine special event. So this now puts brackets around what our special event is, right? It is not Prelude. It is these 3 items that happen to coincide, that are on the first weekend of Christmas Prelude, but we are not defining, we are not limiting, we are not seeing out in the future and saying, whatever it is or not. And I think that's where what led me to that is when we started to read through what KBA got back to us, and they went into deep detail of what they define Prelude and what their events are today. And this is our ordinance. We don't want to go there because, we have no business of being in defining Prelude in our ordinances. So that's section A. I would like to open it up to you guys and start getting, you've read mine, you've read the legal, you've read, we've got responses, and we got some written responses that are in the packet. We've got verbal responses from people. We got other emails from residences. So we've got all ends of the spectrum for what people would like to see in the language. But tonight I'm specifically talking about the things that I think most relevant to the language that we had put forward today.
And can I just note that I do have copies of the ordinance that was in the packet and the paper that Mary Beth is speaking about, if anybody wants a copy. There's amended too.
There's amendment. Yep.
Yep. It's a little damp, got wet.
Bit of water.
Yeah, I would just open it from my thinking. I believe this reflects accurately my interpretation of what the poll results were as it was presented on the June ballot and recorded by the June ballot. I think it's good to remove a definition of Christmas Prelude. That does not belong in the ordinance, but rather speak to what events the town would support and when they would support them. So I'm quite happy with it.
Joe, Alan?
I happen to agree with John. I do like this. I get it written.
Okay, so the section 1A, and then we will clean up after we go to open public session. We'll get clean up on what we should be calling it, Christmas Prelude or Prelude, and keep consistency through our stuff. David?
I would say that there's got to be some changes here because we're referring to it as Christmas tree lightings, Christmas prelude. So we need to come up with an agreed upon wording of what the event is. My only issue here, I don't think, as I said, I think 2 weeks ago, I think it's better to keep it as general as possible because the Prelude Committee has the ability then to change it. We don't necessarily need to say, hat parade or pooch parade, because then I think if you want to change that, it's an ordinance that someone could point back to and say, so it gives a little bit more flexibility. My only concern, and I'd like to hear from the public on, is do we need to define the weekends? Does it need to say when the event is going to occur? Could we agree to maybe two tree lightings and a parade, and leave it vague as to when those events are going to occur, because if for some reason the event organizers want to do something the second weekend, I'd rather hear from the public on that.
Then I would suggest we would say a tree lighting in Dock Square, a tree lighting at Cape Porpoise Village, and a parade. But again, they need to be the same weekend, or we have the cost of closing the street twice. So that all has to be in one weekend. It is indeed the weekend event. It's the support that is the money. And we can't, support it over 2 different weekends. That would defeat the purpose.
So let me catch one thing. You said the port tree lighting, or what did you say?
Well, we might want to refer to it as the Dock Square tree lighting. That's the large annual. And Cape Porpoise Village is the one for recognizing that's also occurring during the first weekend. And then a parade. But
Yep.
it doesn't have to say the first weekend, but during a given weekend, I think it would need to say.
This is happening.
So Lori, do we have any issues if we don't say, we wanted to keep a weekend, but can you foresee any issues if we don't designate a specific weekend?
Hey,
Wait,
oh,
I was just seeing if Lori had.
you first.
I think that in the short term, I do not see issues. I think in the long term, we probably want to review this, but to get us through this year, I don't see an issue with that.
Yeah, and I think I would go, going off of what Lori just said, I would go to that, putting the 30 to 40-year hat on.
It's
Yep.
going to change.
I mean, they
Yeah.
may even think 20, 30 years from now, they may want it somewhere else in town.
Yeah, a couple of things. I think my understanding of the data that we're looking at, the referendum, which, reasonable minds could certainly differ whether that's accurate, whether what it says, how it's interpreted, but it talked about a % of funding, right? It didn't talk about a time frame. So it seems to me, if we're going to bracket this first weekend versus second weekend, that's really a backdoor way of regulating whether it's one weekend or 2 weekends, or the week in between for that matter. And I feel uncomfortable because that's really not anything that we've brought up to this point.
Well, maybe not explicitly, but the dollars certainly are. I mean, you couldn't have it over 2 weekends and do it for the $17,500. If it's over 2 weekends, then it's got to be the larger expense, because the expense is shutting down the roads and managing it all. So you're right, it may not have been explicitly stated, but it was clearly, pay half or pay all. There are 2 weekends, each cost about the same. I think it was pretty clear.
I got it. I understand that's your opinion, and I respect it. But I also remember a couple of times during the series of meetings that we've had, we've said as a select board, whoa, nobody wants to do away with the second weekend of Prelude. And this sounds to me like that.
Well, not at all. We're talking about the funding
Yeah.
of it. We're not talking about whether it occurs or not. I mean, the given is there are 2 weekends. The question is, are we going to fund, and that was the poll was taken, do you wish to fund both of them or pay for the town's support of both weekends? Do you wish to do 1 weekend, or do you wish to do no weekends? That was the simple question that was asked.
Where was that asked? Because I didn't see anything anywhere about any weekends. I saw
The
0%.
question
I believe it
actually
was.
said the first weekend.
It said the first weekend
The
on the
referendum.
poll,
The
the
B,
referendum.
the B
Yeah.
question.
The B question,
Yes.
Or the B vote.
So I
for the
think,
B vote,
yeah, to
right?
to
But we're
make-
not going with the B vote. We're doing some sort of an amalgam of A, B, C. And look, I just have one vote, and I think that's not the deal I understood as we've been going along
So I
here.
think just to go back to what John was saying, and this goes back to why we've got to go back and revisit the commercialization, non-commercial, because really, the whole purpose of the mass gathering is not about how many people you have. It's like, if you have the people and you're shutting down a street, that's when the town gets involved, right? So if you have 450 people on your site and require no shutdown of street or no security detail for whatever reason, or something from the town, as long as it meets the mass gathering license requirements, your insurance and whatever else is on there, you get that. This really is speaking about taxpayer funding, and it was being used for the municipalities for these events and the many numbers of events that were back in '86. So to me, to John's point, it's relevant if it's one. I think we do define a weekend because it means shutting down the street. When we shut down the street, that's what we pay for. So for example, if you say, okay, let's play it forward. If we put the language that doesn't say one weekend, they can say, okay, we want to do this Christmas tree thing on this weekend, and then we want to do this parade on this weekend. Well, now we're shutting down the street 2 weekends and paying for both, and that's not what the question said.
In the simplest sense of the word, but I think I'm giving the benefit of doubt to the businesses that they're coming at this in good faith, just like we are. We're coming at this in good faith, trying to work a solution to everybody. And we voted for a percentage of funding. We didn't vote for a temporal slot. So I think, why do we have to pay if there's a second weekend tree lighting and the tree lighting takes 3 hours? Then we should be mature enough, and the businesses should be mature enough to say, hey, the tree lighting was 3 hours. It wasn't 8 hours. So what's the additional cost of the tree lighting on the second weekend for 3 hours of protection?
Shutting down the streets, bringing in
Sure.
the public works to put it's having the extra security there, bringing the communications in. It's a big deal, Joe.
Oh, no,
And
I
that's what-
understand it.
That's what the expense is about.
But I think, to Joe's point, we are back to, let's just, how it's traditionally done. We have the tree lighting on the first weekend, and there's a parade. I think it's the half parade.
Two
right.
tree lightings on the first weekend.
Well, I'm just saying, how it's been last year was I referred to as the Dock Square tree lighting, and there's the hat parade, right? And that closes down the street. And then on the second weekend, we have the second tree lighting, this is last year, we had the second tree lighting, and there's the
Dog parade.
pooch parade, right? I guess I look at Prelude as that those are those 2 weekends. If we can come to an agreement that says, look, the town will be responsible for paying the costs related to the one tree lighting in Dock Square, and if there's gonna be a second tree lighting in Dock Square, then in turn, it would be the following weekend, it will be on KBA of the businesses to absorb that cost. We're gonna have to close those streets down
That's what this whole thing
anyways,
says,
right?
Joe.
So it's not like we're not gonna close the street down, it's just who's gonna pay for
Right.
those costs. So
Right.
there are gonna be 4 street closings.
Right.
So, but I just think we don't have to define, I get where it's easier that we'll pay the first weekend and you'll pay the second weekend. I get that's easy, but I don't know if we could just sort of leave it up to the parties involved to figure out, I'll pay for one tree lighting, you'll pay for the other tree lighting.
So I'll say in terms of our ordinances or our ballot and referendums of what we put on the ballot, and I'm just gonna speak frankly, and when the general public gets engaged, and what the general understanding is, right? So if somebody's talking about not bucketing and then all of a sudden the town's going to support 2 weekends, we're gonna confuse people completely, right? And that's like, that's why we, you know, we were trying to scale down and get defining prelude out, because we would completely confuse, you know, the ballot in general, besides the fact that we don't want to define prelude, that's not our job, you know, we don't own it. So I feel if we make it so confusing in terms of somebody can't grasp what they're actually going to be paying for. So it's very easy to say, I'm voting that I want to support Prelude, and I'm going to pay, my tax dollars are gonna support the municipality for 2 weekends, or for 1 weekend, 2 tree lightings, Dock Square, Lobster, and a parade. I think that's something that somebody can say, okay, I understand that, that's what I'm signing up to do. If we say, a tree lighting, 2 tree lightings, and a parade, and we don't bucket weekends, there's been so much put on weekends out in, you know, out in the sphere of communication in our town. I'm afraid that we could confuse and not get this passed.
I think the opposite. I think trying to go in with the temperature that and the operating environment that we're in, to try to go in and legislate 1 weekend as opposed to 2 weekends, that's how it's going to be viewed. That's how I view it, and I'm sitting here, and I'm not as smart as you guys, and I haven't been doing this as long, but, you know, if somebody explained to me, because, you know, I didn't vote for a 1 weekend, you know, and I voted for, whatever I voted for
So-
was a funding number, or not,
So.
right? Zero's a number. It wasn't for 1 weekend, and that gets, we've been hearing these comments about, you're trying to curtail the second weekend of Prelude, and we've been, as a board, or at least I have, we've been saying, no, we're not trying to do that, and now it looks like we're trying to do that. Even if that's not the intent, that's how it's gonna be perceived.
Okay, so what would the language look like then? Because we can't, so again, we couldn't go for the non-binding without some kind of dollar amount, because people then would assume maybe too high of a dollar amount or whatever, and so we wanted to make sure that there was the information there, but we can't put dollar amounts in our ordinances, right? So that was the guidance from legal from the start, no dollar amounts in your ordinance.
How about
So
a
that-
percentage? Well, look, I'm a little familiar with ordinances,
Right,
and I never heard you can't put a number in an ordinance or a dollar amount. I
Dollar amount.
defer to the local lawyers who are licensed in this state and who practice that area of law, certainly, but I never heard that, but I'm satisfied with it. I'm not pushing back on that. But if you made maybe some words like reasonable costs or agreed upon costs could be put in here. I'd never seen anybody frown, John, at the word reasonable
Reasonable.
before. Yeah,
Oh, I think, absolutely, who defines what reasonable is?
we do, and whoever's sitting on the other side of the table with us. This is maybe I'm missing the point.
So let's just talk that through then. Okay, so let's say that we say, okay, so you wanted to say, your recommendation or thought is to put a percent in.
That's the question we asked, and that's been our,
What
that's
was-
what I've understood our position is all the way up until tonight, that it's a percentage. It's half, which is 17 point whatever $1,000, and that's what we asked the people to opine on, and that's what we committed that we would follow. And now, with this discussion, and I didn't realize it until John brought it up, that, you know, this is gonna curtail the second weekend, and
No,
Why
it's
is it
not
gonna
gonna
Because
curtail the
not-
second weekend.
not funding, you know, no bucks, no Buck Rogers, right? There was a movie that said that, and if you take funding away, then you're gonna push everything into 1 weekend. And is that a good idea? What
So,
about the crowds in the first week?
I don't agree with your comment that we're taking funding away. I agree with the comment that you made at one of our board meetings previously, where it was taxpayer dollars versus commercial entities. And so now we're looking at saying, okay, we're trying to find that medium point. And I do not agree with anyone saying that by what we are proposing to do, that we're getting rid of the second weekend. The town does not have that power. We don't dictate what Prelude does. Prelude is run by KBA. KBA is already out starting to, look at means to, raise funds for that portion of, or for right now, the ordinance is to pay for it all. So KBA is actively out looking for this year, to raise those funds. So again, we got into this because of exactly what it is, right? And we're trying to find it because the 86 ordinance is pretty clear. So now I'm trying to think through, Joe, your idea of the percent, because the part of it is the percent. That's why we gave people the 17.5, because we had gave them something to hold on to versus an open checkbook. And I think the open checkbook thought might cause problems with people pulling the lever for yes.
Yeah, that's right. The percent was actually their job. We calculated again, it was the town cost to provide this support for Prelude was the $35,000 if we do the detail rate, as the last time I said, that was the cost. And as it was presented in this poll, is do you wish to continue to have the town support? Would you put up that chart for me, Dina? Do you wish to have the town support the full cost, and that was option C, or do you wish to support half of it for one weekend, and it was so stated on the poll, for 17.5, or would you wish to have neither of them? And this was the result.
411, I remember the result.
Yeah, but I think it's important for people just to see it again. Yes, C had a polarity, but there was a significant number of folks that voted for none at all. And then another handful that said, well, I would just prefer to support one weekend and have the second weekend be supported by KBA. Not kill the second weekend. It's just a matter of where are the taxpayer dollars going to pay for the town support, the town piece of supporting the safety and traffic of Prelude. And these were the results.
I don't want to beat a dead horse here, although sometimes that's fun. But
Please send comments to Joe Moan.
yeah. No horses were harmed in them, making that statement, okay? I don't understand the operative difference. If I voted for 50%, that means I voted for 50%. I don't care if that's spent in the first weekend, if it's spent in the first weekend and dribbled out through the week because there are other, events, or if it's done in the second, if it's split. I don't know that anybody cares, but I can't speak because I'm not, there's 411 people that have an opinion on what they were voting for.
So part of the stuff that we heard, right, so we've got a lot of feedback from every bucket up there, right? And so what we've been trying to do is to come up with something that we think will satisfy the many voices that we've heard and the many issues that people are concerned about. So part of the thing I'm thinking of is some of the comments and some of the strong comments we got from people about the open checkbook, right? So 50% is what? So we don't define. So we just submitted, right? So then, if that's the case, then we do have to go down and have a line item of say, these are all the Prelude events, and we're going to cover 50%
I
of all
disagree.
these things.
I think you say we will pay $17,500, and that it's, you know, it, and then the rest of it is up to the KBA. Why? I mean, it's freeing on both sides. Here's the money you have to work with as a business to put on a prelude. Here's the money we're on the hook for as taxpayers for support of the prelude, because we've determined that 0 is not an option. The A is out of the picture. I don't see where it makes a difference. But that's, again, look, that's what the beauty of, you know, democracy is. Everybody gets a vote.
I'm curious, why do you say A is out of the picture?
Because A is 0. We're not saying 0. So
He
we've
means in
ignored it. I mean,
terms of-
A is in the rut. That vehicle is off the road because we haven't said 0. We've said we're gonna pay 50%. So my whole point is, in a very inarticulate, long-winded dissertation here that I apologize for, I don't see where you go from 50% to 1 weekend. I can't make that jump.
This is just to deal with, bring this to November so that we can get the voters to approve to pay some money for this upcoming prelude.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly.
And then for June of next year, there'll be a whole other aspect looked at. This is really to just get this done for this.
Because right now, we can't pay anything.
Well, but,
So that's
no,
why we're
well,
trying to
let me
get
clarify
this
what
together.
David just said. So so David's ask is, are we opening up the prelude part of this, the special event section of this ordinance for June? And my thought was no, that what we do for prelude is what we do for prelude. It's not,
That's forever.
this is forever. We don't, you know, I don't want to have, you know, I don't want to take the town through this again. I want to get to a resolution. I want to get things on the, you know, I want to get an ordinance approved. I want to know, I want KBA to understand, you know, what support they're getting from the town so that they can go off and do their annual planning. They don't start planning, they start planning, you know, probably the day after prelude ends. So, you know, we are sort of caught in this weird area, and I don't want to then say, okay, next June, we're gonna be here again.
I know I started this by saying, if we just drop, I said, I know I started this by saying, you know, just getting rid of the word weekend and letting it be that we would be responsible for community, the community would be responsible for certain events. Tree lighting, a parade, a couple tree lightings and a parade. And it doesn't matter when those happen, if it's the first weekend or the second weekend. I mean, we know traditionally how it happens, but if we start saying first weekend, I think we're kind of defining it then. Whereas you could leave it open and everyone's gonna understand, we're paying for 2 tree lightings. We already know one of them's going to be in Cape Porpoise. That's probably not really put on by the KBA, and but we're gonna pay for 1 Dock Square tree lighting, and we'll pay for the Cape Porpoise, and the community will pay for Cape Porpoise, and the community will pay for a parade, which could take any form on any particular weekend within that 10-day prelude period. I don't know if we had to say,
So
we can all figure out the cost and figure out who's paying for what.
okay, so let's just get clarity of understanding what that physically means then.
And I agree with, he said what I said better and short.
Okay, so let's just get clarity so the rest of the board can weigh in. So if I say a tree lighting in Dock Square and I say a parade, because we don't want to call it a hat parade because they might do a shoe parade next year. So does the tree lighting, does the street get shut down twice for the parade and then a separate time currently for the parade, hat parade?
Yeah, so talking about from a money aspect, the second weekend has cost a little bit more because of the fireworks and the length of time the street is shut down, but not enough to argue about. So really, from a money-wise, if we're just talking admin dollars, either parades cost less than fireworks and tree lightings. So a parade is a parade and a tree lighting is a tree lighting. The only challenge I would say is on the Cape Porpoise tree lighting. We already have police called in. So remember, we have a 4-hour minimum call-in, so it doesn't matter how long it takes. So if I have to call more people in for the lighting and then I'm doing the second tree lighting, that could be an issue. But it's also the tree lighting in Cape Porpoise is much smaller. And so depending on the crowd, we shut the street down, and that usually only takes a couple of officers. So I'd say, money-wise, I wouldn't be too hung up on when the parade happens or when the tree lighting happens.
Okay, okay.
All right, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so as long as okay, so let's just recap. We are saying what David said, a tree lighting, 2 tree lightings, Cape Porpoise lobster tree lighting, Alan has his own tree lighting now.
Undisclosed apparel parade,
Yeah,
or undetermined
Yep,
apparel
and
parade.
undetermined apparel parade, and then the port tree lighting. And so we will support, the town will support those 3 items as a special event. We are not going to cage the weekend. That will be under discussion with, because again, we're planning for the future, so at some point, they might do something different, and it doesn't hone us into a week. Who knows? They might say they want to do it on a Monday. I don't know. You know, what's that song? Monday, rainy days and Mondays always get me
Alright.
down. So I think are we headed there? Well, I want to settle the board language first so that we can write it down and then people comment. So we can say, notwithstanding any provision of this chapter to the contrary, the Dock Square tree lighting, Cape Porpoise tree lighting, and parade,
And 1 parade,
and one parade,
and they take off during the first week of,
That's it.
Conducted during
prelude.
Christmas prelude, or we say just prelude,
Conducted during,
shall be deemed a mass gathering and a special event, which may be
conducted
supported.
during Christmas prelude, shall be deemed a mass gathering and a special event, which may be supported by municipal services. For purpose of this chapter, this special event shall be limited to, we'll have legal, because legal wrote this, so they gotta tell us why 2 tree lighting ceremonies, and we'll take out
the
the first weekend of,
weekend.
we'll just say 2 tree lighting
During.
ceremonies during prelude, and 1 parade conducting during prelude. And this language might get cleaned up. Yeah, she'll
Yep.
clean it up and legal.
Yep.
All
Yep.
other Christmas prelude events are outside this defined special event. So that gets us
That works.
outside of fireworks
That
or,
works.
I like that.
you like that, Alan?
Nobody liked it 15 minutes ago. Now everybody likes
Okay,
it.
all right, so that's where we are right now for section 1A. The only, section B, I think the town may provide, we have to clean this up probably. The town may provide police, fire, public works, traffic control, parking management, sanitation, and other municipal services necessary to support the special events. I'll take out, including the first weekend of prelude. I will just say during Christmas prelude. During Christmas prelude. Actually, I had crossed that whole thing out. I crossed that whole thing out. Leave it
Yeah.
crossed out. We don't need it. Okay, then it says the cost of such municipal services, including employee wages. We don't need overtime because
Right.
we're gonna go into the union discussion, so we're gonna ex-nay that word. Equipment, vehicles, and related operational expenses shall not be charged to the event organizer and may be paid from funds appropriated for municipal operations or otherwise authorized by the select board. These costs will only be those associated with Kennebunkport employees and not outside agencies or organizations needed to support the event. Are we
Bingo.
okay with B?
Bingo.
Okay, so we got special events done. Now, before we invite comments, can we please just go back, and if the board has any comments on the red lines for 140-2 definitions, are we still, we're still doing those, Lori?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
they look good.
Okay. So 140-2, No, we're not hearing anything from the board, and then we had just gone through in detail. And then item
What-
2.
Yeah, what, I'm curious, why did Memorial Day fall out of the non-commercial gathering?
Non-commercial gatherings are still charged with the additions to this ordinance, and Memorial Day has been a community event that we have not charged.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, let's go to section B2, there's a red line at the bottom. So that's what Lori just said, Joe. The red line on section 2 at the
Special
non-commercial gatherings will also be a charge,
Yep.
okay?
Okay.
Alan, David,
I'm fine.
everybody good? All right, so I think we have, before we open it up, does anybody need us to reread it, or are you guys good? Oh, okay. Special events, notwithstanding any provision of this chapter, to the contrary. What did I say? Notwithstanding any
I
provision
have
of this
the
chapter,
annual
to the
Dock
contrary.
Square tree lighting, Cape Porpoise tree
Yeah.
lighting, and one parade conducted during Prelude.
Yep,
Shall be deemed.
shall be deemed a mass gathering and special event which may be supported by municipal services. For the purpose of this chapter, this special event shall be limited to 2 tree lighting ceremonies during Prelude, 1 parade conducted during Prelude. And then the sentence holds, all other Christmas Prelude events are outside this defined special event.
I would say the 2 Christmas tree lightings defined above, just to be clear that one is Cape Porpoise and one is Dock Square.
2 tree lighting ceremonies defined above.
As defined above.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
legal's gonna have to redo.
Yeah, okay, but that
Right.
just to
They're
be
gonna,
clear.
like, because this was from
Yep.
them, and we
Yep.
need to have them
Yep.
clean it up a little bit. It's
Yep.
redundant, like David or somebody said. Okay, and then, if we're good with that, then B is the town may provide police, fire, public works, traffic control, parking management, sanitation, and other municipal services necessary to support this special event. Everything's crossed after. Then we go to the costs of such municipal services, including employee wages, overtime's crossed out because we're going into our union discussion. Equipment, vehicles, and related operational expenses shall not be charged to the event organizer and may be paid from funds appropriated from municipal operations or otherwise authorized by the Select Board. These costs will only be those associated with Kennebunkport employees and not outside agencies or organizations needed to support the event. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so the board is okay. We are now, so the intent now is to open it up for any comments from anyone here or online, and then we'll ring, after we hear from people and comments, then we'll come back and do another check with the board to see.
One quick question. Is this officially Christmas prelude, or winter prelude?
We're gonna have, when Tina comes up and speaks, she's
That's-
gonna give us the
okay.
answer, so we know how to actually put it in. And we'll get clarity. Okay, so any comments?
You're gonna have to raise that, or kneel.
Rob Wingle, Goose Rocks Beach. First of all, I missed the past 2 meetings, so the statement, Mr. Dykstra, that this accurately reflects the poll resolution or referendum.
Yeah.
I take exception with that, because C, this reflects B, which got 22% of the vote. So I know you've all, the train's left the station, you've concluded that it's B, but the results of the poll were C was the preference and B was the third choice. So I dispute the interpretation.
I don't know, we can discuss, you go ahead.
No, you just said, this
Oh, I did.
accurately reflects
And I believe
the
it
poll
truly-
results.
It truly does. It's a sentiment poll. You had
Yeah.
almost as many people saying 0.
But you didn't. You didn't have
No,
as
yes,
many
you
people
did.
say B, and you
that's,
landed
know,
on B.
What's really interesting is that it seems like those that are so strong to support C don't at all acknowledge the amount of people that
all-
voted A.
All
It
I'm
is just-
suggesting
it's-
is
this
you
was the
landed on B, and
sentiment-
B got 22%
The
of the vote.
sentiment of the town, and I think, well, I would think any logical person looking at that says
So
that.
let me pop in here for one quick second. So Rob, I think, in the previous meetings where we had, so I've talked with a number of people that have said the same comment, and, what my conversation has been, the board did the non-binding vote for two reasons. One was, we have an ordinance on the books, and we needed to know if people wanted us to go off and do this work, to put another ordinance on the ballot to potentially change the November ballot. So we needed to see what the feeling was, and we got the permission to go do the work. So that was the first answer. The second answer was to give us an indication of what that ordinance should be to actually pass. So if we were talking about one of these buckets being over a 50% number, you would say that's a strong indicator, and I think you would have saw this board definitely say, okay, we got a strong indicator, the language should reflect that. But what you heard from the board is we're looking at, we don't want to go, we're doing the referendum once. So when we go once, because it's very hard to do it twice. When you go twice, you're going to lose the second time just because people are upset that you're going twice. So the first time, we want to get it right. So what is the chance of passing? The chances of passing, you don't, C doesn't have enough to carry the vote yes, right now. And there can be an argument that says B comes, but the problem is you got 441 sitting in that middle. And last meeting, we had a resident who is in the middle at B, speak and say, I'm in the middle and I'm not going, if you put C on, I'm not going to C. I'll go, she wants to stay in the middle. And she gave her reasons for it. And so we want, first off, the board wants to do work, but we want to do work that means something, that reflects the general overall view, and that will be successful. We put C on. My personal opinion, I don't know about the rest of the board, but my personal opinion is I'm 99.999999999% that it's not going to pass. I want to put something on there that wins, and to me, what John said, one thing that I think really has upset the board, upset me, upset the rest of my board members, Lori, many people, is the issues that this has caused within our town. And I think Joe has brought it up a couple times about, we had, an $8 million bond for a town hall, and somehow we got through that vote without beating each other up. But this one, we seem to have crashed and burned. I want to get to a November ballot that will be successful. I want to recognize that A bucket. I want to recognize the C bucket. And I want us as a community to learn the word compromise. And if everyone in this room loses a little, gains a little, then this community, to me, my own personal opinion, is that then we are pulling this community back together. Because right now, if I'm coming in and looking at this from another town, I'd say, Kennebunkport has some issues. They're a ripped apart town. I want this town back together. So I personally don't know why we can't all just look and say, yeah, I recognize C. I've said to people in the A group, do you realize C is strong, that they are more than you by 79 people? And their answer is yes. And then I have yet to talk to C that say that they recognize that there is a lot of A people. There's 680 people that don't want to pay, they want to pay zero. Our job is to convince the 441 in the middle and some of the 680 to come and fund a weekend and get way over 50%. So this town looks like it's back and it's supportive and it's supporting Prelude, and the message out to the world is, Prelude is there and it's being, funded by residents and it's being funded by the businesses, and everybody's happy and we're dancing around the tree and having eggnog. Isn't that wonderful, Dave?
So I won't rehash all the reasons why context mattered. in this vote and other things that I think many people suggested that the way this was done was gonna lead to this kind of result to begin with, so I won't do that. I'm not an expert on ordinance language. Mary Beth, if you're saying this is not to come up again next June, and this is supposed to be language that lasts 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I think there's a level of specificity in this language that reflects the way the world is today, that leaves almost no room for any flexibility. So I'm not sure why this wouldn't be completely simplified and not talk about, is it a parade, is it fireworks, is it a hat, is it a pooch, but say something on the order of, for this special event, the town is willing to fund up to 50%, may fund up to 50% of the municipal costs. The fact that we're saying a tree lighting in Cape Porpoise, one in Dock Square, one parade, why would we be in that level of specificity if you want this to last? And why wouldn't you just say, this is a special event, whether you call it prelude or around the holiday time, and the town may fund up to 50% of municipal costs, which may and up to gives the town the ability every year to vote on a budget in the select board. Why would you go to this degree of, I think this will confuse people and open up all kinds of different interpretations.
Yeah, I think you heard us talking about that, and I think Joe was making a good point, David made a good point, but we ended up wrapping back to that. I don't know, does anybody, I spoke a lot, does anybody else want to
I
speak?
would just say, that I think part of it was that the Cape Porpoise was brought up at the last meeting, so I think that's why you got the Cape Porpoise, tree lighting specifically mentioned. I don't have a problem just saying tree lighting. I don't care if it says Dock Square or not Dock Square. I want this to pass. I understand what you're saying. I think, I've said this before, you have to keep it as broad as possible so that times and things change and you're not coming back saying you're out of compliance with your ordinance because of that. So, but I hear what you're saying, but I'm also.
Because I'm saying not to mention a tree lighting, not to mention a parade, not to mention that there are a whole variety of things that it looks like today, and in 5 years it might look different, that whatever this special event becomes, it could go backwards, it could go forward, it could change, that the town, that the select board in the town has the ability to pay up to, so not have any of those specifics.
I think for,
Yeah,
okay, so let's talk about that.
I like it too.
Right, I like it, but let's
think that's
talk
what I
about
said.
this in terms
That
of.
just makes sense.
So let me just say, because we were here before when we talked, but please stay there, Rob. Part of what we've heard and part of what we're trying to move people to get to that 50% is limits. So if we say 50% and we don't have a menu of the items that are agreed to, I'm afraid residents will say this is a blank check, I'm not writing a blank check, and then I know what you're gonna say, you have a budget meeting every year, but then, to me, so I'm looking at the whole process, and if somebody says, nope, we can live with that, that's fine. But our budget season happens in June, right? So we go to town hall in June. KBA is, I'll have to get an answer from Tina or someone of when they've actually, turned the lever and started to take, reservations, because I heard we were, when all this kicked up, they already, people had bought inventory, reservations. So if if it got to a level and the people say, nope, that 50% is too much, not gonna do it, because it will be then something every June. So that's my only, I know why you would like it, because broader is better. It doesn't cage you in. My question is, because we've got dollar signs, and I'm interested in what the rest of the board feels about this, because that's my one trip up. I feel like we might lose something because we have no boundary condition on the 50%.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Good. No, you.
No, please.
I think this is any deal, and an ordinance is conceptually no different than a contract that's codified by law, right? We control that, and the voters approve that. So and I think, so we can set the parameters and the safe the guardrails, right, to make sure that it's not gonna come up as some crazy figure, and whether that's a cap, dollar-wise, or a percentage, or the words reasonable, or agreed upon, or as approved by the budget committee of the town.
That's right.
So, I don't wanna be here every year, arguing over, now it's $19,500.
No,
or
but
now-
that,
but I-
that,
but-
that's the point, that's
but
the
I-
point of why we got to this thing. Okay, so so I'm right where what you said and what the proposal is what I'm afraid of, right? So we just lived through this. I don't want to live through it again. I want to have guardrails down. KBA knows that the town people have spoken. They agree that this is what they're going to fund. KBA knows this is what I can expect from the town. It goes through the budget process, boom, it's done. And KBA can go off and do their business for this prelude event. If we say 50%, I don't know what the guardrails are.
But we put the guardrails.
We don't put the guardrails on.
Yeah, we do.
When?
We're drafting the statute.
What are so then what are the specific guardrails?
Let's get the town lawyer and tell them what we want,
But,
right? We want a statute that puts in this and that and protects the taxpayer and protects the town and gives the businesses an assurance level, right? That there's gonna be some funding available. I mean, I wanna make everybody happy to the extent that we can, and, a lawyer saying, hey, well, I can't put that in there because of whatever, at this point, I wanna know why exactly we can't put
so
a
we can
percentage or.
put 50% in. The problem is, I'm not saying that it's a problem with the contract. I'm saying that I'm trying to get more than 50% of the people to say yes. And if we say 50%, I have already heard from people, number of people, beat me, trying to get them to the middle. And
Well,
they want to understand what they're supporting. If we say 50%, there are no guardrails.
It's-
That's what I'm testing. Where's the guardrails?
well, I don't know, again, if you, in the ordinance, if in the preamble, and I'm not licensed to practice in Maine, so I'm not giving legal advice here, okay? If you want to go to Wales, England, or Scotland, I'm actually licensed there, and I can draft you a contract, or 6 states. But if you put in the preamble of the ordinance, based upon the outcome of the the non-binding referendum conducted on June whatever, this is what we're gonna do. And the purpose of this ordinance is to provide safeguards, amounts, and clarity and protection of the taxpayer, all of these things that we all want. Then, okay, if people vote, look, I'm hearing that the businesses seem to be willing to take the risk to have a statute that is different. And if everybody votes no, then everybody votes no, then it's 0. Then, okay, we're sorry, we tried, and,
To be clear, I don't represent any businesses.
no,
I'm the
okay,
resident.
well, okay, Rob is willing to take the risk
Exactly.
that, that the thing doesn't pass and we're back to 0.
And 64% of the people voted for
something.
50% to 100%. So if you say
But
may fund
but-
up to 50%,
But we had a dollar amount too. And so that was so that we could get a reality. And so the other thing that so I'm just going back to the guardrail discussion, because I'm trying to think, because we want to get here, right? Because we want to get something on the ballot for November so that we have an opportunity.
Can I ask one more
So
question?
can I just make a
Can I
suggestion?
just ask my question?
All right,
Please.
go ahead.
Okay. In our town ordinances for parking fines, it has dollar numbers, right? You
No,
pay, yeah,
For
you don't
fa-
pay
for
two,
fines.
you don't
we
pay,
have a separate code of fines that
Okay.
the board adopts.
and what is that classified as? An ordinance, a statute,
It's
an
a
appendix
it's
to
a
an?
policy by the board.
So is a policy, same with the building code, with all of those fees, that's all? So maybe an ordinance isn't the way to fund this thing, I don't know. Get approval from the ordinance, get approval to do it, but then you drill down with some policy about how you actually come to a number, right?
In the legal weeds.
Laura, Valerie, what's your
Yeah,
suggestion?
okay, that's
So
what I
my
wasn't sure.
suggestion is that we finish listening to some of the people,
Yeah.
rather than try to fix it as we go. Let's listen to everybody and then.
Thank you,
And
Rob.
did you have anything else?
Nope, thanks, Rob. Thank you. Anyone else? Yep. Tina, too, can you sometime tell us Christmas prelude or prelude, how do you want us to? Okay, thank you.
You're gonna, Rob, you're gonna have to move that.
You gotta help her.
Thank you. I'm Susan Graham. I sympathize with everybody in the room, especially you. And I know how hard your job is, but I think Joe's right. Don't worry about the language. Just tell the lawyer what you want to do and she'll fix it. But I do think you should be looking at a couple of things that have been overlooked. It was a non-binding vote, but it specifically said in the top of the ballot that this was funding for 2026. It's such an important point because we don't know what prompted people to vote a certain way. We could never know that. But that number may have influenced a lot of people. They may have been willing to think, well, yeah, let's pay for it this year because this whole thing snowballs so quickly, it's hard to recover the money. It's hard for the business community to recover the money. But if that's the case, I don't understand why you want to institutionalize the funding by changing the ordinance. I agree the ordinance needs to be changed. Alone, the fact that it's no longer winter prelude. But, so I think that's important. But the other issue is the cost number. Good try, half, pay for half. But the ballot said 17,500. It's a slippery slope if you're if you're not specific about what it is people are voting on. And with all due respect, none of us can control the outcome. You have to let this go. You do the best you can, and you send it to the voters, and whatever happens, happens. It may not be the end of it. This may go on, who knows? But I agree with Lori, to let the lawyer take care of the language. The only other thing, you can probably craft, or the lawyer can, language for a one-time payment for November, and then worry about changing the ordinance in June when you have more time and it'll make more sense. I don't understand why you're giving the select board authority to spend money. I don't know where that came from.
We're not.
It
Because
says
in
in here
the
that it
ballot-
would be, in B, special events, 3B, may be paid from funds appropriated for municipal operations or otherwise authorized by the select board. Is that language still in there?
Yeah.
See, you don't really have spending authority. The voters have spending authority. And this should be the spending for this event, whatever the amount, in my humble opinion, should be given to the voters every year, just like any other funding article. This is not something that tonight we're deciding for all time. I would hope it's not being decided for all time. So anyway, I agree with you to some extent. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for hearing me out.
Or just letting us. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Andy West from Day Trip Society in town. And I just wanted to make a couple comments about the idea of wording it so that you're funding the first weekend of Christmas Prelude versus the second weekend. And one thing that just occurred to me was that, you know, if there's like a weather event, I don't want us to be in a position where, like, if we weren't able to do the tree lightings the first weekend, that we couldn't then flip it to the second weekend. So I think that would be a good reason to keep it open-ended in terms of where the money is spent, and for it to be more of a 50% or the 17,500. And then, you know, my other question just about the way that things are written here, because when we were voting, it was, the numbers were given, like that it was gonna be 17,500 or the 34. But then here, it's not really written as a dollar amount, it's written as these are the different things that you would be paying for, contributing to. So I guess my question is the idea that all of these things would add up to that exact number?
Yeah, so what you had is, we had the 17.5, and really that was, you know, the first weekend, you know, or that consists, like Lori said, that consisted of the tree lighting and the parade and the shutdown of the roads for those events. And she said, you know, she just walked us through that. On the second weekend, you know, because of the fireworks, there's an extension of the road closure, so there's a little bit more costs. And we saw that, you know, in terms of some of the earlier ons. But, you know, so that's the answer to that question.
So if
It was based on what
Hours.
expenses had been
right.
For 26,
for 25.
No,
for
it
the
was
winter of
projected for
26.
But
Yeah.
then if the thing that people are gonna be voting on in November, what you're proposing, that you wouldn't be voting on the number, you would be voting on this list of things that you would be contributing to?
Yeah, so for example, you know, so we could walk back like people are saying, and basically what this becomes, in my opinion, it becomes a discussion every year, and it goes through the budget process of, and to me, if I'm a business owner, I'm not sure if I'm ordering inventory or not. If I'm dependent on the taxpayer dollars, how am I running my business? I would not, I need to open my year with a known budget. And that to me is, I think my opinion, I'd like to hear from Tina. My opinion is that we could be causing an issue. Maybe it's no issue, but I think it may be. The 17.5 and the 13 and the 34 came because, and they were, to Susan's point, it was 2026 numbers, so we wanted to be clear. This was 2026 numbers, because these are, you know, we have union contracts, we have raises every year, so expenses go up every year. So we wanted to give people, this is an idea, and again, it was a non-binding ballot, so it was a directional, this is directionally how much it
Yeah.
costs, you know, and are you willing, you know, to put it in a bucket so that people weren't, there wasn't rumors out there about how much it actually cost. And we were actually giving information so people could make a judgment call on that, knowing that it's a 2026 number, knowing that it's resources, knowing that in the future, these numbers will go up.
And just to be clear, there will be a vote in November to appropriate funds. So there needs to be a second vote besides the ordinance vote, so that we can have funds to pay for it.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being this list of things, because like you're saying, the numbers might change every year. They're not
Right.
always gonna be exact, so it's not like you can say it's gonna be 17,500 this year and then forever more, because it's.
No.
Well, right, because you don't want to be here 10 years from now and 17.5 is like
Right.
nothing. So that's why you can't want to keep that out of it.
Yeah.
And if you say 50%, then the next question will be, I can understand that somebody will approach me and say 50% of what? I want to know what
Yeah.
the list is. So that's where then we would have to, and that goes back to the other thought is, I don't want to define prelude. I don't want to have some reference of a definition of prelude in our ordinance. I want KBA to go off in 10 years from now, if they're going to do something else, they have to have that freedom to go do it, and we don't have to go back to a vote
Right.
and maybe
But the
risk it.
50% is 50% of the municipal costs, right?
Just the
Right.
municipal
Yeah.
cost. But the other concern there is that if KBA decides they want to have a third weekend,
Right.
then the 50% now becomes, you know, spread over 3
Right.
weekends. So
But I do like
that's
the-
where I think defining it just as the elements is a way to go, rather than the 50%.
I do like the idea of posing it as a 50% though, because I think that conceptually people, like the people that maybe feel like 2 weekends is too much for the community members, like they conceptually can understand, like, I only feel like I want to be paying for what would be 1 weekend. And it's kind of like you can kind of think of it.
Unless it
in-
goes
in
to
those
3,
terms.
because then you're paying for 1.5 weekends.
Yeah, I understand.
So that's the thing.
We're not going there, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
I can do the math.
Anybody online, Mike? No? Quiet?
Hi there, Joe O'Connor, Kennebunkport, happy resident. I want to say from the last meeting, I appreciate all of you going through this. I especially appreciate you, Alan, by saying why you came upon B. Something's better than nothing. That seemed very logical to me. It still burns me to see this graphic behind you. It was advisory, it was non-binding. I hope this town has learned that non-binding is a very slippery word that shouldn't be used. I know time was of essence. I have one question and one more comment. One question is, do we have one more bite at the apple before this has to be put to bed? Meaning, this has to go into the language to get on the November ballot?
Yeah, we wanted to be, so tonight we wanted to be like 98%. We wanted to be done or 98% there, because our next meeting is the first week in August, and then it goes to the lawyer. So we wanted to be like either handing it off to the lawyer tonight, tomorrow, and/or, at least doing just light cleanup next meeting, the first week in August.
Okay. I also
Or second week in
want to
August.
say that I appreciate David calling Tina after the last meeting, and you, Mary Beth and Lori, meeting with Tina, because prior to, nobody had met with Tina on behalf of KBA before this, what is now adjusting language. So I appreciate that. Joe, I really like what you said tonight about leaving things looser and more vague, because if you put the specifics in, if we have a shoe parade, for instance, we're back doing this ordinance every year, which is what you said you wanted to avoid, and I appreciate that. But I think what we're going to hear from Tina, I hope, is that compromise, which is everybody loses, everybody wins, you go away, maybe there's no victory, right, is really the two buckets that belong together have to do with cost, which is B and C. Not going to belabor that point at all. However, I really think that there's more work that needs to be done. I agree with the vague language, but Tina, on behalf of KBA, is about to tell us that there's a solution that could have been adopted, whereas I'm calling it second weekend. I don't like that because it's a 10-day community event prelude, but the second weekend has some reduced cost to the nonprofit, which we all know as KBA. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, and just to be clear, because I've lost my way, this is only for 2026.
No.
Well,
So David had asked a question, and I had said, our intent was that we were going to do this because we didn't want to be back here again. We were gonna go back and do the rest of the mass gathering language, but the prelude section, the special event section, was going to be done.
I don't want to derail the whole juggernaut here, but maybe haste makes waste, and maybe this is just for 2026.
I kind of I have to admit, I like that myself. I'm not clear we're going to, but
Because this is a mess. This is just a hot mess,
Yeah.
and
So it's a hot mess, but then also, let's go
Let's
ahead.
let Emily, let's
Oh,
let
hi,
Emily
Emily.
talk.
I sorry, I didn't see you.
Hi, Emily from the Kennebunkport Resort Collection. I know, a lot of things have been said tonight. I agree, and, want to compromise in the same way. I wanted to ask the reasoning behind kind of tabling the community event versus the commercial event. I think throughout these discussions, right, I've been in attendance, I've been on Zoom, I've watched and kind of followed along in this process. And I think we've heard numerous times that we acknowledge that this is a community event to some extent, right? I understand things have changed over the last 44 years, or 45, I'm sorry. And I'm sure Tina will tell us a little bit when she gets up, but I know that she plans to be kind of the last speaker, so I wanted to ask this question and understand, because I think Tina has told us throughout this process that adding and keeping that community event language in the ordinance is key to remaining, you know, the rest of the pieces that come for Prelude remaining approachable for the KBA to be able to put on the 2 weekends. And so I want to understand why, if we're looking at this for a 30 to 40 year time frame, why we've lost that language, because we're already impacting our ability, right, and our funding to be able to put this on for a 10-day, again, whatever duration we want to say it is. What was the reasoning behind excluding that language in this?
So we originally had, so in our language, we have commercial, non-commercial. We don't have community event. And that's in our ordinance. And so I think we don't understand as a board, frankly, what is the purpose of putting, so we want to be careful in our ordinances that we put language in that means something. To us, you can say a community event, but we don't understand why community event has to be in an ordinance. We want to call it what it is, if it's Christmas Prelude or a Prelude, but we don't have to define it. Why do we have to define it as a community event? We haven't been able to, Joe asked that question a couple times, and as a board, we haven't gotten that answer of what is the reason why. Now, you can say the soft answer, which is we want the look and feel, and we can all talk about Prelude being a community event, but it doesn't have to be defined as a community event in the ordinance. There's no value. That's what we're missing, is what's the value of having that?
I wanted, Emily, I think part of it is, this is the ordinance that we're working off of. And there is no definition of a community event in the current ordinance. So in order to, we're trying to make sure we get money for this year. In order, the conversation I think to have about changing this ordinance, commercial gathering, mass gathering, maybe you get input for next year, but if you start opening that up now, I think it takes it in a different direction than what the goal here is, to try and get everyone some money for this year.
But aren't we on two different tracks if we're saying that we want what we're discussing here as language to be kind of the lasting ordinance, then we are going to reopen that,
So
right?
when we
I'm just asking,
reopen it
just
for
for
June,
clarity.
right, if we open it, when we reopen it for June, if somebody could explain to us, besides the soft feel, and when I say soft, it doesn't mean it's irrelevant, it means its relevancy is in the soft emotional side of a society, that you call something a community event. In a legal term and a ordinance term, the value of a community event is what? And that's what we've been struggling, and that's why our lawyer that's not, I don't know if he's legally in this state, I don't think I followed that one, but, you know, Joe has asked that question, and we as a board have not gotten, we understand the look and feel part of it.
Sure, and I'm not here to dispute that, right? I know everybody has their own thoughts and feelings on that, but from what I've gathered in some of the messaging that Tina has had, that we have received special pricing, right, and different levels of support because it's classified as a community event, that we may not in the future if it's no longer identified.
You will get the way it depends on where we end up, right? So if we end up the way we started here when we opened it up, you know, then we were going to go back and look at have the discussions with the contract and get us up to the detail rate. So that wipes out for you guys the relevancy of community event, if you want to use community event in that term. Because that no longer applies, because it applies to us. We're calling these things that the town is hopefully gonna vote yes for. These are the things that we're gonna pay for. And then the other things are non, and they would go out as everything else in this detail rate.
I think the other piece is what was proposed in the last meeting did have a municipal community event, right? And I understand that this is the ordinance that we're working with, but we, have deviated from that
And let me just
suggestion.
explain, that was
Yeah.
in the legal review.
That
So
was removed.
Right, and so the attorney said, well, you don't have these definitions. And she came to special event because under mass gathering, the title is special events and mass gathering. And under mass gathering, it says any commercial or non-commercial gathering, the two categories we have, or special event. So she said you can define it as a special event, and that works. Because I told her, we don't want to change the whole thing right now. We want to change as little as possible to get us to November. So that's where that came from.
Okay. I'll allow Tina, obviously she has so much more understanding of what the impact of that is, but I just want to comment kind of on keeping, not gatekeeping, right, and not narrowing down to that one first weekend. I think we're clear, right, we're talking about 2026 funding, we're talking about the evolution of this, we're talking about the next 6 months, right, and then to our point, we're going to start planning for the next prelude as soon as we, have our guests depart, right? And so I think it's important to keep in mind that inflation, right, costs will go up, but the whole future of prelude may really change as we navigate this in the next 5, 10 plus years. And so I think it's really important to keep the language as broad as possible. So I thank you for that.
Anybody else? Anybody online? No? Quiet online.
Anybody still
Tina,
online?
are you
Nope.
coming up?
Oops. Uh-oh.
What's that?
Thought you were taller than Emily. Hi, Tina Hewitt-Gordon. Thank you so much, President of KBA. And I just want to, again, thank the board for all the work that they've done, and Lori, and all the residents who have bared through with all of the last 4 months of the fun that we've been having. So, and the support that you've given us. I appreciate the work that we've all done, and we are here for compromise. Obviously, based on the numbers behind you, we would hope that the board would have gone with full funding. We understand that's not the way you interpreted it. KBA is certainly happy to be in the compromised situation of funding whatever portion we come up with and whatever the wording comes with. I do completely agree with leaving it a little bit more vague. I am thrilled to hear that you want to remove the first weekend, second weekend designation and just name the events that the town will be willing to support on the municipal level. However, we will go back, and I will go back to Emily's comment. We are very happy to be able to support and pay for 50%, whether we want to say it's $17,500 or whatever that looks like. The KBA is willing to do that. We have reiterated the importance of keeping the community event designation, and I understand what you're saying, Mary Beth, that you don't that you haven't gotten a real answer and there's a soft value. I'm not talking about a warm, fuzzy soft value. What we're talking about is the fact that, and I hear what you say, Lori, where you, the lawyer said you had to take out the actual wording and to amend that. However, when Christmas Prelude was bulked in with 4th of July, Memorial Day, and the Goose Rocks Beach road race that they have, those were considered community events. That's where that language comes from. And so when we work with Kennebunkport, we work with Kennebunk, we work with York County EMS. The other towns, those two other entities, they look at that definition as the support of this community. And by removing that support, it then opens up KBA to not receiving the support that we have received from them. Our ask, and this is where our organization has really grave concerns, and we brought this up in the letter that I submitted to you on July 2nd. I gave you we still really want you to fund everything. We understand if that doesn't happen. Here's the compromise that we're really willing to consider and move forward with. We will pay half of the costs, but please designate this as the community event. And obviously, you have to work on the language, whatever it looks like. I'm trying to help you define that soft language of where we're coming from, so that when other towns and other organizations and other entities such as York County EMS looks at Christmas Prelude, and let's call it Christmas Prelude, Mary Beth, you said
Okay.
just
Can I-
Prelude,
can we
thank
just-
you.
Is
Yes.
that what we're
That's it?
calling it?
We're calling it Christmas
Okay.
Prelude, thank
Christmas
you.
Prelude.
Thank you,
Got it.
check.
Thank
That-
you.
That one's done.
That one's good.
They will look at it and say, this Christmas Prelude is 10 days, and Joe, if you want to do a third weekend, more power to you. We don't.
I told you first meet, I love Prelude.
Well, I love Prelude too, I wouldn't be here, but I don't want to do three weekends of it. When they look at that, they look at it as the 10-day event that's supported by this town and this community. The funding will be for 50%, the three road closures, however we come up with. But the most important component is that wording and keeping that designation as the community event. Without that language, I'm going to have to go back to my board and figure out what direction we want to take with this, because it is that important to us to keep that type of language and leave it to the lawyers to figure out how that looks, but so that we can, when other entities look at Prelude, they recognize that it is supported by this community. And I know it is. We know it is.
But Tina, if you look at what we're trying to do, and, you know, if we don't have it defined as of right now, and we're staring down, you know, the next meeting, isn't it enough to say, if we can get this ballot passed, isn't it enough to say to the other communities that the Kennebunkport town is supporting us 50% of our costs? Isn't that, I mean, what's the value, for me, that would mean more, because if somebody said to me, this is a community event, but there's no dollars behind it, then as another town, I'd be like, great, I call it a community event too, but I'm not gonna give you any money. But if you say, the town of Kennebunkport is going to pay, you know, 50% of the municipal costs, that is relevant for another town, not the fact that you're calling it a community event.
I think it's a two-part process, Mary Beth, a two-part statement, because yes, you're going to support it 50%, and again, whether you're using the words 50%, whether you're going to use up to 17,500, whether you're going to say it's going to be, you know, 2 tree lightings and a parade, that's part A of the definition. Part B is that it remains with that community event designation. And again, one of the other points that I want to be sure that I bring up, because in the letter that I submitted on July 2nd, that it was in everybody's packet that they have, I left off a really, really important component to that. I did send an update to the board that I know didn't make it in time for the submission for the packet, was we want to be sure, regardless of the whatever the language gets adopted, that the police officers are still paid their, that KBA would pay the differential between their standard rate of pay and their detail rate of pay. So if for those three mass gather, 3 road closures, meaning the Dock again, however we figure this out, the Dock Square tree lighting, easy for me to say, Cape Porpoise, and the parade, that the officers would be able to receive that extra amount. So, and again, making up numbers, if they're making $50 an hour, but the detail rate is 100, KBA would pay the difference. And again, I know I spoke with Mary Beth and Lori and David about this. I know nothing about union contracts. I mean, that's
Yeah, so we
somebody
are,
else's.
as we stated, we're gonna go into, part of this, as we said at the beginning, is we're gonna go in and talk to the union about this to see what we can work in parallel. I just need clarification, so, are you saying, so let me just play out the full scenario really quickly. Let's just go back to this language, not to the 50% or anything. We had these events, the 2 tree lightings and the parade. Are you saying that the taxpayers would fund that at the overtime rate and that KBA would then pay the differential to get to per diem for those 3 events.
I want to make sure that I understand the correct rates because or the right words for the rate.
So the rate that they would get paid right now would be the overtime rate.
Which is their standard rate of pay, if you will?
Well,
Is that, okay,
yeah,
thank
you
you.
would say standard.
Yes, thank you,
Okay,
Lori.
so what they would be paid per their contract right now, and then, so you're saying, so I'm just, there's two parts to this. One is, say this ordinance, wherever it is, this thing was it, the 2 tree lightings and the parade.
Right.
And then the rest of the next, let's just say the next weekend, just for simplicity's sake, those, when we close the next road closures, that would be paid then in full by KBA. So they would be paying, you would be paying the differential for the town-supported 3 events, and then you would be paying the full detail pay for those events that are not covered under the special event
Mhm.
for the road closures. Okay. So not the
But
differential for the rest of them, you're paying the
We
full
would be,
detail.
that's correct, yes. So, yes, thank you for that clarification. So for the events that the municipal cost would be covered, we would want to pay the differential. And then the costs that we would be covering, we just want to make sure that our police are paid the detail rate of pay.
But
So
that's,
that,
that's
but wait,
also-
let me
And that we-
just
yeah.
follow one last one to make sure I'm there. So the, let's just say the tree lighting, the second, it's just,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just gonna use the current words.
Okay.
The second tree lighting, the dog parade, those would be paid by KBA, and they would be paid at the detail rate, not a differential, but the detail rate.
Well, that's how it would have to be because
Right,
the
I
town is
just,
owned,
I just
yes.
want, because we were getting confused in some of the words and stuff, and we
That's
wanted to
actu-
make sure that we were clear with
If
that.
I'm clear, that's actually more than what I've been talking about. That you've actually, now, what I've been talking about is that the KBA does pay, and we'll use the 2 weekends now. 'cause
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
here.
that's fine.
KBA would pay the 50%, the 1 weekend at the full detail rate.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking that the municipal would also, we'd be paying at the detail, we would just pay our officers out of our funds. If you're willing to throw that in to help us out even more, that's great, but that's what I'm hearing you say, and I don't think that's what you're saying, but maybe it is.
Well, let her answer.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Please, yeah, let her
Now,
answer.
now she's gonna second guess what she's saying.
Yeah,
Like,
is that,
wait a minute, now you're
I need
making
a
me
replay on
second.
it.
is that what you're saying?
When we have had these discussions, the municipal cost, during the events that the town would be covering, it's been our understanding that the police in the past have been paid at their overtime rate of
That's
pay.
true. That's a true statement.
Not their detail rate of pay.
True statement.
Okay. So what we're saying is of those municipal costs on that first weekend, let's just stick with
Right.
what we know for right now, okay?
Right?
That moving forward, if they are going to be paid their overtime rate of pay for those 3 events on that first weekend,
Right?
that there is a differential between their overtime rate and their
Yes.
detail rate,
Yes,
correct?
there is.
Okay. What we're saying is if the town is not going to cover that, we will. Yes, I know that's more than what
Okay, that's
I'm sorry.
marvelous.
I would prefer the town to cover it, but if you don't, it is so important to us to make sure that's why we
lovely.
got here.
That's
Okay.
lovely,
Is-
that's lovely. God, thank
Perfect.
you for that.
Okay.
What about the second weekend?
The second weekend, we're going to be on the hook for, because you've
At the
just said,
detail rate?
you're
Okay,
going down the middle of the
I think
road.
we're done. We're done then.
No, we're not.
Okay, what did I miss?
We need to be able to be sure that in the definition that we are designated as a community event,
Okay, so.
okay? It doesn't mean that we pay the town anything differently. It means that the town sees Christmas Prelude as a 10-day event. You keep the event whole, so that when it's looked at,
It's okay, but that definition, to me, when I hear something defined as a community event, it means that, in my thinking, the town is paying those costs, no one else, because it's a community. Again, this has always been my understanding of what it meant to be a community event. If we can define a community event as just the town saying, hey, this is important to us, and we love it, we think at least for a portion of it, and probably a good portion of it, our residents are there, they love it, okay, we'll just call it a small C community event.
Let me ask a quick question. In the reference of, or in the, trying to get to something, could that community event be part of the June ballot discussion?
No, because you're saying that this is going to be, the Christmas Prelude is going to be forever.
No,
No.
we're gonna go,
No, the
no,
mass
no.
ga-
So all the whole mass gathering
This whole
has
thing is
this,
gonna be brought back up in June.
right. So only the special event section, which the board, I have to go back to the board because I'm not sure if they're gonna want to re-up this again in the special event. So we have the special event section. And then that's the one that we won't really want to touch. But if we define community someplace, it's pretty easy to slip in a community word into a special event vernacular. But to do the community definition right now, I don't,
I think,
I think if we can get them, if we could try to get the understanding of the money and get that over, and then do the commercial, non-commercial, whatever's gonna come through that work process to get us to June, and then we can bring forward that community definition and add that in, because we gotta redo all those definitions. We're not sure commercial, non-commercial is relevant anymore.
I would agree with you on the
Right.
commercial, non-commercial.
Can I ask two questions? One,
Well, can I just,
Sorry,
I
yeah,
just need an
answer.
answer.
I'm pondering what you're saying, so David, please go right ahead.
you mentioned that, you know, the Goose Rocks Beach and July 4th and Memorial Day was as a community event. Where is that is defined as a community event? You said that
It was in the original, right, it was in the original paperwork that was.
No, it's in,
given.
it was, no.
No, it's not. I mean,
It's not in the
that's,
86 ordinance.
I'm not arguing, I'm just saying, I don't want to.
I've never seen that word in
Could-
that. We
yeah,
put it in
I-
because I was trying, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I think the question, this has been kind of talked about with the community event, and I think can I just ask a blunt question? I'm going to ask the blunt question. Is it important to KBA that this be defined as a community event because there is some other resources coming to KBA because other resources are looking for something that they want to fund a community event, and therefore you need the town of Kennebunkport to call it a community event in order to receive other grant money.
But honestly, why
Oh,
are
can
they
she-
looking? What does the word community mean to
Hold-
them?
John, let her.
Okay, so I have a new,
I'm.
I'm stepping in
All
as
right,
the
go ahead.
chair, and I'm gonna set a new rule. Question asked, wait for the answer, and then we can do a follow-up.
you got a
lot of Ready?
passion on both sides.
Yes, go ahead, Tina.
And that's why you didn't, and to your point, that's why when you did a town hall, people weren't upset, but when you talk about Prelude, it means something to them, and they are upset. So,
So-
anywho.
That's one theory.
Yes, David, to your point, there's outside funding that comes to to Prelude and to the Kennebunkport Business Association because of the designation and the support that we've received in the past from this town.
But what does that designation, to those people, what does community event mean to them? Is it just a word on a piece of paper?
No, it shows that the town supports Prelude, and so recognizing Prelude as a 10-day event is a really important designation to us.
So it's okay if we just supported 50%, that would still be considered a community event? In your fund, and the people that are funding you, if they see that we're just supporting it 50%, that would be enough, that would work.
I believe so. Yes.
It almost has to,
Yeah,
because that's what we're
right,
about to do. I
right.
can't call it a community event in
Sure.
good faith if
Sure, well,
we're
it is,
fooling
a
somebody.
community event, we don't obviously, individual businesses profit. KBA doesn't profit from Prelude at all.
So
We're a
can-
nonprofit.
Yeah.
We don't make money on any,
Did you wanna say something?
No, I think what you have just answered is the question that has been alluded to
Forever.
for a couple sessions.
It
And we
takes time.
never, I mean, it's always been suspected, but there's never been an affirmative action. So there is a financial benefit to the KBA to put on Prelude by having this defined as a community event
Yes,
from other funding sources other than the town of Kennebunkport.
correct.
That really is, that's what you are concerned about.
That's the crux, yes.
So the question is, can the town of Kennebunkport somehow refer to this as a community event?
And not pay
and
100%.
Which involves some money from the town.
Correct.
Could be whatever it's evolved, but so that is the concern, is that there's a potential loss of other funding sources if we do not define this as a community event. Have I got that correct?
You got it,
Okay,
David.
so now I'm gonna come in and say, we don't define it as a community event right now in our 86 ordinance. And so we are not changing anything.
No, but see, we are, because by the fact that we have been paying
But
for
we're,
all this
we're still
piece.
trying to pay.
But, no, but the fact that we paid for all of it, you
Right.
could clearly call
could-
this
they-
a community event.
they
That's my thinking.
You
But
could
it's
fill out
not-
a grant
but
application.
But it's not
again,
defined.
But it's not defined.
It was never
and it's-
defined, but you could
again-
represent it as a community
But
event.
again, I'm going back to the word of why do we have to have the word? Because it really comes down to your
As
point,
Tina
which
just
is,
said, we have
which
to have the
is
word.
if it's, because it comes down to the point is, it comes back to funding. The town is funding, so therefore it is perceived as a community event, and KBA is gonna get funding from other resources. We are trying to achieve that. We don't have the current word in here. We are trying to replicate a certain action, which is fund portion of it. So why, again, is the word relevant when we know that that is, we're marching down a clock and we're trying to get to the point of putting funding of money on the ballot?
Can I just ask this question? Could it be defined, would a special event, does that not satisfy that?
No,
Could a community special event?
yes. Or special community event.
But we don't have, so this is where we
Could
just,
a proclamation by the board?
We can make a proclamation, this is a community event. We're not paying for it all, but it's a community event. We can do that. One finally fell.
Dan, can you bring us,
Dan, you don't want to see how this ends?
Dan,
You've
you're
got-
you're
you
speaking
could've
out,
brought-
where are
you
you
could've
going,
brought
Dan?
us
We're not
ice
done
cream.
yet. Yeah, we're looking for some.
Yep. Oh, my God, absolutely.
I was
Thank you.
wondering how long you were.
Dan, are you bringing back meals for us? Because it's gonna be a long night. Okay.
Take care,
Yeah,
yeah, good
bye.
night, good night. Well, why
So I
not?
think by, the other, I mean, and again, I know that you're going to be addressing, redefining the commercial, non-commercial, and maybe the whole thing gets rewritten.
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Currently, and I think maybe the wording has changed, but Winter Prelude is considered commercial, is to get those words taken out of
They are
that
out.
event.
They are out.
They are.
So what we're doing, that's out, yeah.
And you've defined Christmas as the word we're gonna use.
Christmas Prelude, yes.
Later, but not there. But, if that could work, again, that's my concern, because to me, community event would, again, I said, but if we were able to make, and if we were willing and agreed to make a proclamation that this is a community event for us, we have an agreement on how it's going to be funded, and we are contributing, just not 100%, we don't have to say that, but that's what's so, that's doable, I would think.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to get we're just trying to get the kicker lined up so we can kick it.
And we can put it in, for the June, it'll be in there in a way to solidify it. Here, I don't know if it's important in this particular, because we don't have time, I don't think, to go through the legal review and get this in here, because I think it's going to be complex.
Where has it ever been, what writing can you show the board where it has been referred to as a community event? What paper? Because I don't believe anything that I can't see in black and
Well,
white.
I don't have it with me, I actually have it
Well,
sitting
you
in
know my
office.
email and our email,
I do.
contact the
I
board.
can scan it and send it
And
over.
because there's,
This was is it an ordinance or something?
No, it was in the, in the original, it was go back in the way back when machine, probably in the early, maybe in February. Lori had given a spreadsheet that had listed all the different community events that the town provides funding for. It included the Memorial Day Parade, the 4th of July Parade, it had, the 4th of July fireworks, the Goose Rock Speech, and Christmas Prelude, and it had it designated right up on the top as Kennebunkport community events.
Yeah, but not at an official, it's something that was put
Yes.
together as we were writing. At that point, we had always been paying 100%. I would speak for Lori, but I would think in my thinking, if you're paying 100%, you're doing it as a community event.
But
It
I
doesn't
think
officially make
part
it a
of it
community
sometime
event.
is, when you put in a spreadsheet together and you put a header in,
You're darn
you
right,
use a
yeah.
word. And so here this is the problem that we've had, is we've been asking this for months, is the value of that word. Now we understand that there's value
Well, I get
attributed
another
to the
quick
word.
question.
Thank you.
Kennebunk and York, you had mentioned that it matters to them that you're a community event. Does Kennebunk have anything that classifies the Prelude as a community event?
I'm sorry, say that
Does
again.
you had mentioned before that Kennebunk and York, it's important to them that you are a community event, for them to provide services and backing. Is there anything from Kennebunk in the Kennebunk ordinance that calls you a community event?
I don't believe so.
And how about
I'm
York?
not versed in, again.
But I
no,
mean,
and I'm not
where
versed
does
in
this
that, Joe.
community event, where does this thing come from?
So if you go, thank you very much, Rob. If you go back to the February, I was right, it was back in February, the 26th Board of Selectmen meeting. Lori, I'm just going to read what is written here, and it was in the minutes from the meeting. It says, Lori explained to the board that when an organization wants to hold a special event in town with more than 250 attendees, a mass gathering permit from the town is required. If town land is to be used, a special event permit is required. The town asked recently what kind of financial support we give to special events. Most event organizers are provided with a rate for support from the town staff, for police, traffic control, and are billed for that. For certain events, however, such as the Memorial Day Parade, the Goose Rock Beach Road Race, 4th of July fireworks, Christmas Prelude, and Circus Smirkus, the town absorbs those costs. There's a considerable difference in the pay for the town staff for a community event versus a detail rate. That's where it came from.
But that's
So
not.
it's not an, yes,
but
it's
again,
not
it's
an,
not-
it's
so
not
I
an
think- I
ordinance.
think,
This
so-
is where the wording is coming
Right,
from.
but this is where I think you're getting some pushback from the board. So now we understand that you got dollars associated with the term
Mm-hmm.
community event. We understand that. But we do not have it in our ordinances right now. It is nowhere. You read minutes from a thing, which is fine, but we don't have it in our ordinance. We're just trying to get this part of the ordinance done. To put this burdens on this part of the ordinance at this point, where we're not taking it from you, you can still use that, meeting note, because it's still documented there that that's what was said. I mean, if that's what you're going on and getting funding from these organizations for, nothing's changed.
It does change if you don't remove the commercial designation, which if I'm hearing, that's not gonna happen,
You just
in
can't
this
right now.
meeting. I understand that. So incorporating language into the special events that reflects where we're trying to go. That's up to the lawyers to figure out the exact wording.
But
But
Tina,
you gotta be accurate in your law.
Well,
And you,
I
you know,
understand that.
calling a duck a chicken
Does not make it a
does
chicken.
not make it a chicken, and
I'm
if
not
it's.
trying, I'm not trying to.
I think you are, because I see the road race it doesn't make any profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Memorial Day doesn't make any profit. The 4th of July doesn't, I can go on with all of the events that you've mentioned. You make a profit.
Okay, but we.
The
but
KBA
we-
is a 501c3, but this is a commercial event. It makes profit for businesses.
Okay, but I would argue, I was gonna say, I would argue the fact that so does 4th of July. Just
does
because,
4th of July? How
well,
does-
because people come into town, they go to the fireworks, they go out to restaurants, they go to the fireworks. I mean, we could split hairs about this. I mean, same thing with the Memorial Day Parade. I'm not trying to build, listen, I'm not trying to
Okay,
say
so
that the
I'm
parade.
gonna, in
Yeah,
essence of
yeah.
time
Come
and
on.
trying to get us to
Yeah.
a point where we can close, because we do have to move, and no, Rob. Wait, let me finish, please. So we are done talking, I believe we're done talking about special, or what were we just talking, what was the word?
Commercial.
No,
Community
community
event.
event. We can't take that, we don't have it in our ordinance right now. We don't have it in this language. To do so right now at this point is not the right approach. If we were taking it out of something, I could see your point, but we're not. Somehow you are getting that funding. We're not changing anything. We're not changing anything from the town in the ordinance. We're trying to get some funding for Prelude. So the ordinance is already written the way it is. Whatever you've used to get to donate or to designate it as a commercial vet, the town has had no say in that. We have not said it. So whatever you're doing, you do with those people and you get your grant money. We're out of that. And then we can discuss as we go through June, we can work with you in terms of, does it make sense? Because there's still too much confusion and we're not gonna solve it tonight.
Mary Beth, we don't get grant money. We get support from these other agencies.
I used the wrong word.
Okay.
I used the wrong word,
We
and I
get support from
apologize.
these other
Yep.
agencies because of the support that we get from Kennebunkport.
And we're
So
still.
the message that this
right.
board, the message that this board, and the message that the rewording of this ordinance is vital to the continuation of the support, obviously, that our town provides, but also the support that those other agencies provide. And so I realize by if you can't redefine commercial, non-commercial, in the definition of that special event, weave in the fact that, that this is a town-supported event, and that
Well, it's
the
supported, but it's not a community event. It's an event supported by the town. I think
So-
everybody.
Yeah, so
Okay,
we are not going to, so I'm gonna call it as a chair that we gotta just stop I hear what you're saying, Tina. We will,
Carry it
when
forward, yeah.
we will carry it forward, but we are not at the point to bring this to closure. We don't have enough time to sort this through, in terms of, and I'm where Joe is on the argument. And I'm not feeling the love from the other board members too either. So if we are just trying to we hear you, but we gotta get to this, we gotta get back to the main bulk of this, which is what we want to get on the November ballot. And then we can go back and revisit that larger discussion when we reopen commercial, non-commercial, because we're not touching that right now.
We are taking Winter Prelude out of commercial.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are defining it as something besides commercial, which I
special
think
event.
is beneficial.
Because the special event's already in the language and we're just pulling it out and defining it. And so that's how we can get this going.
And if a proclamation might help. But I think you can talk to the board about maybe coming up with wording.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Nor do
Yeah.
I mean, not tonight.
Okay,
not
so
tonight, but
can we, so I'd
Oh,
like to.
come on, David, let's sit here and do
yeah,
that too.
So I'd like to move on because we've got
think
if there's any other salient points besides this wording, I want to get back to what are we going to be moving forward for our wording? Either are we done, are we coming back?
I
So,
think,
is
Rob,
there-
there's one more thing you wanted to say.
Wait a minute,
I'm gonna call everybody tomorrow morning.
I got to put my timer on. Okay, go.
In fairness, Tina and KBA could have argued aggressively for C and started the whole conversation applauding you, saying they're here to compromise. I'd encourage you to work with her on, is there some minor language that is added to this that gives them the opportunity to get this additional funding, that whether it's the town supports this, give her time to come up with language that helps the KBA get that other funding. That's all she's asking. And it was just kind of shut down, even though she came
So
up
I
to
think it was
compromise.
shut down. I'll answer that. And you can, I think you're all set, Rob, but thank you for that. But I'll answer in terms of, we are working, what we are saying is that we are not changing anything. We have not defined in our language Prelude as a community event. That is not in our language. We are not changing that. We are trying to define whatever a funding, it's in what?
This whole thing is new language.
but you heard us we're going off of, we're gonna go back and we have to reopen commercial, non-commercial, and all that stuff. That is in the beginning of the discussion where we've gotta get to June. So please, we acknowledge, we're all working together. What you hear us is saying, tick-tock, tick-tock, let's get some language up there, otherwise we're gonna miss the November ballot, and this helps no one. So we're not even solid on this part of it. I gotta get back to this part, I gotta get the board back to this part of it to see what we're doing. I thought we were there, but now we're back, and we've gotta go back and see, are we putting a percentage, are we having lawyer, but we understand, we've heard Tina, now we understand why we didn't understand it for a long time, now we understand why it's linked in. So this is new information, and we will work that for June, but we can't take on more water right now. And it shouldn't hurt you for funding because we don't have the language right now. That's my point. Okay. Anybody else before we go back to the board?
Hi, Kate Bauer-Burke, Goose Rocks Beach. And Joe, congratulations on 6 states. I thought 4 was pretty good for me.
5 or 6 in the
Well,
United Kingdom solicitor.
I'm really impressed by the United Kingdom. I just want to basically sort of reinforce what Susan Graham has said. What you put out there in the referendum, the question you framed, and the thing that people voted on, who selected B, was up to $17,500 for 2026. Now, I understand that you don't want to revisit this, but on the same token, it is a big part of your possible having to look at the ordinance, that section of the ordinance, the mass gathering and special events section, in more detail. To me, that's the point where you should be worrying about what are we going to do going forward. You have a directive. I know it sounds difficult to say, we'll put something out that's very simple on the ballot for this, dealing only with this year, only with what we got the input on. And I think there's nothing wrong with temporarily or whatever putting in a certain dollar amount that is what the voters voted on. So you've done an amazing amount of work in a short time under a lot of pressure, and this is becoming even more so now that this additional information has come forth. I understand their concerns. I'm sorry it didn't come out earlier when we couldn't have talked about that, maybe even with the other towns, to make something happen that would make Prelude work as well as protect the taxpayers in this town from anything like a blank check. So please be careful on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Anyone else? Mike? Okay. Last call, literally.
I'm gonna
Okay.
try something and just get your gun out. But if we,
I'm getting my clock out. I'm
on
like,
this
yeah.
first part, notwithstanding provision of the chapter to the contrary, the annual Christmas tree
Wait,
lighting.
can you,
Sorry?
slow?
Well, I'm trying to go past the other part that doesn't matter. But the, and the very
Where are we, John?
special events,
Okay.
1A, notwithstanding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the Cape Porpoise tree light and one parade during Prelude shall be deemed a mass gathering and a Kennebunkport special community event, period. If we said that, and now we haven't defined what community is, right? We don't, but we're just calling it. And don't even capitalize the C on community. Just call it Kennebunkport Special Community Event. That's it.
Which,
Replacing special event with Kennebunkport Special Community Event. Why not? Nothing lost, I think. What do you, Joe?
I'm just not sure whether we can do that. Because, I mean, community event sounds like a defined term somewhere. Now, whether it's the tax code of the United States or the state of Maine, it just,
So I tell
I mean, I
you-
think it's great language, but I
Okay, so I tell you what, I will ask the board to if we're gonna stick with these items,
Yeah.
because again, we gotta go back to
Well,
these items
well,
or a
well,
percentage.
Well, let me re-amend my answer. Why don't we ask the town lawyer?
Yes, that's what
I
I was
mean,
gonna do.
subject to
Can we-
whatever the
That's-
town lawyer
that's-
says,
okay.
then
Can
I'm
we try
gonna
to
That's
go
throw
with
that
it.
phrase in? Let's just
Yeah.
try to throw it.
We'll try to put that
Let's-
in.
If we
for-
can do that.
For
let's-
these, okay, so,
Everybody
I
will
got,
be
I
happy.
mean, it sounds like it's pretty much existential for them, so we really got to try to do this.
okay, so
Yeah.
let me go back, so yes, great idea, John, thank you. Okay, so where are we, guys? So when we handed this over to the conversation, we had netted it out, and we were talking in terms of a tree lighting in Cape Porpoise, a tree lighting, another tree lighting in the port, and a parade.
Right.
And we weren't defining times, and we were saying this was, and we are now going to see if legally we can say a special community, and define
Right.
those three things as a
Right.
special community event.
Right.
And then we had left the words in that all other Prelude events are outside the defined special event. And then we had the language below. So we had that, we flipped it over, and then we started talking about percentages again, because we wanted to be broader. So there's two things that you have to answer me on. One is, or we have to discuss. One is this a one-time thing, and we're gonna come back to this in June?
Yes.
Yes,
I would
Yes.
think you'd have to.
yes.
Yes.
This is a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
Right.
it's right. This is just for the 26th, to get us through this, to get money in KBA's hands. That's what this is about.
Okay, so I'm doing a follow-up to that one. Okay, you ready for the follow-up?
Yep.
Hang on. Follow-up is, if we do this as a one-time pass, and it doesn't pass, do we go again in June? Because we know what happened when we tried to go twice on something
Well, I
else
don't know.
here in town.
Let's cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point
Okay,
is
so,
moot at this
so we just
Or
do
no,
one
not right.
time, and then if it's one time, we still have to go back in June anyways.
Yep.
Okay, Alan? So
fine with that.
I'd like to just, everybody nod, yes?
Yeah.
Yes,
Dave?
yeah.
Okay,
thumbs up.
good,
Yeah.
thumbs up, all right, so that was one thing. Now let's go back to the second point, which is, we had these three items. Okay, so we can do this, now let's look under the hat of this is a one-time event. Well, a
Right.
one-time, this is just for November.
Right.
So are we going to leave it for November as these three items?
I would suggest, and then look at the percentage maybe in June. The percentage makes a lot of sense.
So why
But this-
I would suggest that we do that is what Lori alluded to, because we went through the budget process, so now on the November ballot, we have to have a referendum for a dollar amount.
Right.
So we should be we can't define 50%, we would want to just say these items, because then we can
Cost it out,
pencil them
cost
out,
it out
and we
at
can say
17.5.
exactly what the cost is.
Yep,
And
yep.
then we can transfer, if it passes, we can transfer that exact cost
No, I'm
as it was
all
defined
right with that.
for these, for that.
We'll do the 50% later.
And then if we want to go to a percentage, that can be the June discussion.
Yeah, I think that does make sense, and let's. look at
Alan?
that.
That's fine.
David?
A-okay.
I'm fine. I want to see, yeah, in theory, I'm fine.
It's 9 o'clock.
And we'll go quickly. Thank you very much for the work on this. I'm confused, and I want to hear what Kate and Susan are saying, but why do we want to do this all over again? You're saying that this is just going to be a fix for 2026, and then we want to revisit? I just want to be clear on what you're saying.
So I think, because I could be confused, I think.
Thank you.
I think where is it? This whole
Yeah.
special events and mass gathering ordinance needs to all be fixed.
Totally reworked.
Yeah.
Totally reworked.
Okay.
For June.
For June,
Sure.
next,
Yeah.
goal is for the June next ballot, okay? We may want to tweak some of this for June also.
The Christmas prelude special
Well,
events?
we may not want to.
So wait
We
a
may
minute,
not
we
want
have to be very careful
Yeah.
here, because so when I entered this one, my thought was lockdown prelude, so then the businesses can go off and run and every year do their thing, because day after prelude, as Emily said, they switch to start planning mode. And they have to figure out what they're ordering. So I thought we were going to try to lock down Prelude for language, and then get that solid, and then in June, we have the rest of it, and if something like community event or something has to get cleaned up, not redone, it would go into the whole cleanup vernacular. We wouldn't be changing the.
See, I misunderstood what you asked.
We wouldn't be changing the theory.
I totally misunderstood what you asked us. I thought what your first question was, are you willing to reopen this?
This special event, the whole
No,
thing.
I thought you were talking about the 2020, the Prelude.
Well, clearly, we're gonna open,
yeah.
clearly, we're gonna open this again
All
in
right, so
June.
let me
That
try
was a
again.
given.
Let me try one more time. It's a given. We are going in the June ballot for all rewrite, commercial,
Absolutely,
non-commercial, lots of
absolutely,
discussions, blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely,
This
yes.
will just be a cleanup of small, is that what you guys are saying
No.
in June?
No, I'm saying I'd like to look at the 50% rather than naming these things and put it to the budget board review. I'd like to be able to have a chance to work that through, and we can look at that in June.
So this
So
is
here-
for 2026. We'll get,
This is
2026.
This is for this November.
yes.
Okay.
And, but the statute is only going to be for the 2026 Prelude. And that's also consistent with the language that was on the referendum,
Exactly.
which said for the 2026 Prelude, what do you want to fund?
But this is not an ordinance change then, because I have to talk with, Lori has to weigh in here, because I don't think you do an ordinance change.
For a year.
For a year.
But we already
Well,
are.
well,
This is the same ordinance we're voting on,
I
has
know
all
it's-
the old language in it.
It's
Well, it was
getting-
also a
No,
non-binding
we-
It's
vote,
also, I
though.
was just gonna say, we're
It was
going after
non-binding.
9 o'clock, we have other agenda items, but
If-
you're right, to some extent, this was all non-binding, right?
Right.
I mean, it's all like
So if-
advisory, so.
Exactly.
have-
Again, if you're going to interpret the vote, and I'm not trying to be argumentary
So
at
wait,
all.
I don't want to go there, because I got to
Yes,
finish my
yes.
thought here. So let me just try to get this locked down. So this special event, you're saying that we're just going to write this in the vernacular used, and that I'm going to be pulling a lever on, is going to say, this is only applies for Prelude 2026. And then we're going to open up Pandora's, we're going to revisit it. We may stay with the same language in June,
Exactly.
or we may change it.
Exactly.
But it's going to say for November 2026. So then we're going to ask them to re-vote on it, because November will be taken off, and it will be an affinity, or for whatever, until the ordinance gets changed
In June.
again.
Right.
Well, 'cause
For
it-
June, that language would be changed. And if we said, oh, yeah, we really like this, KBA likes to know that they're getting 3 events, and, the town's supporting it, and everybody's happy again, and this is good. And so we're gonna leave this, and we're just gonna change a couple words or whatever, or we're not changing anything, and that's gonna have to get re-voted on.
No, it gets rolled into the bigger
rolled into
statute.
the
And
But
that
I-
gets voted
I-
on once.
Again, I know, but it will be a change either way. Either we're gonna go in and change a percentage. So let me just play this scenario forward, because I'm in the KBA, I'm in a business hat here. I have already ordered everything for
Right.
this November. I now am anxiously awaiting for the ballot on November to go through and get money or no money, or understand how much I'm getting. Now, I'm going to start planning again, and I might have gotten burned, who knows, from however the vote goes. But now, as of December 25th, or whenever you want to say the date is, I've got to start planning for Prelude 2027. And I'm not going to know until June whether or not the board's changing this language and we're doing a percentage. And if they do that, the board is, if this thing's going to pass. And
Yes,
if it
what she's
doesn't pass, this says November 2026 only. So if it doesn't pass in June for some reason for the overall changes, then where are we? Then we're back to our old ordinance that says we give nothing? That's why we've got to think this one through.
And thank you for saying that, because to the point that Susan and Kate have made, if the temperature of the town and the board is to fund up to 17,500, 50%, somehow weave that in there. We're not asking, because I hear their point. They don't want it to be a blank check. And so that it's going to be a rotating cost every year. I mean,
prices are gonna go up, we understand that. I mean, at some point, if we needed to reevaluate that, we could. But I don't, it's never been KBA's intention to ask the taxpayers to pay more than what they're willing to, right? I mean, again, we'd love them to pay all of it, but if that's not where it's going to go, then somehow work this into the language, because I 100% agree with you, Mary Beth. If you have to write in November 2026, we're gonna be doing this all over again, and then I don't know how we plan for we're already in a flux for 2026. We're gonna be in a flux for 2027, and I'm not talking just KBA, but all of the people and the nonprofits who base their budgets around
right.
the decisions that you're making.
All right, then we're off the 50% thing. We go with these set items, and that's what we give to the lawyer, and we move ahead. That's fine. I wanted to open it up because I thought Rob had a good idea.
That wouldn't have been my call.
And but again, if this is important to you, that you have something that is firm in November, then let's just move ahead with this. I got it.
And then we can do wordsmithing or whatever that won't.
I just don't think we
change
want to
the
be doing
intent.
this every year.
No,
Well, I think the
I'm-
part of
yeah.
it is that
I'm
we
fine.
can't, we're not organized in a way that our calendars match.
Right.
And you also, like, we can't have this final, it's not like you're going to a corporate center and the CEO's saying you're not getting funding and
Well,
you're in your normal process share.
And let me just ask, so does this this is currently part of the mass gathering statute?
Yes.
correct.
Is this no longer, is this now a standalone
No,
ordinance?
it's part of the mass
Okay,
gathering
so we
statute.
still have the risk that
Still
when we
gonna
put
open it
the
up.
revised mass ordinance statute up for vote in June, the people vote no and they're at zero.
No,
How?
because
How?
if they vote yes,
Yeah, they vote
If-
yes for that.
they vote yes for this, but it's part of the mass gathering.
Yeah.
And then when they vote yes, this is in.
Yes,
The 3 items are in.
yes,
Locked and loaded.
yes.
Now we go to June and we change commercial, non-commercial and
Okay.
all the words and they say, no,
But-
we
but it's-
want to go back and we're not going to pass that.
Trust me.
This
No,
is,
no, no.
this is already passed.
You
This is
can't-
done. This is done.
It doesn't work that way.
Why not?
Why not?
Because it's either a separate ordinance or it's a part of whatever.
It is. It's part of the mass
It's part
gathering
of the,
ordinance.
Okay,
of this version
okay.
of the mass gathering.
Right now, you're passing an amendment of section, don't make me do this,
Well,
okay?
several
I'm a
sections.
recovering lawyer,
Several-
don't make me do this. You're
several
making
sections.
a amendment to several sections
Right.
of chapter 140, the
Right.
mass gatherings
Right,
ordinance.
right.
Okay, that's gonna get approved, that amendment.
So
Then,
there it is.
as I understand it, in June, you're gonna go and make other tweaks in here, and we're gonna do whatever we do,
Rewrite the whole thing.
rewrite the whole thing, and then that whole statute, including that amendment language, goes up for a vote.
And
You
if it-
can't strip that amendment language out and say, oh, no,
No,
no, you voted for that.
So,
back."
so wait, so let me play it forward. Let me finish that thought. So it gets voted down. Well, guess what's still on the books? The old
No, it
amendment
isn't.
that has
Why
it.
isn't it?
It isn't. The land use ordinance that we just
You
passed.
put it in it is part of the new statute. When you take the new statute, are you gonna when we put the statute up, are we gonna black this part out?
No, I
It's
think,
gonna be in the statute, and if the statute is not passed, that amendment goes down with the statute.
So I think we should just take a break from this.
Wow, see, I don't
Yes.
see that at
Yes,
all.
I think you're right.
Okay,
No, he's
but-
not right.
I know, it's dead obvious to you, that's why I'm a geologist
Well,
and you're a lawyer.
I could be
but-
We have
wrong,
a
but
10
I don't
o'clock.
think so.
All right, we've got a 10 o'clock deadline, and
We have other agenda items.
so we are going to.
Why is this not, still, this is on the.
Okay, so we are going to ask that question to our town attorney and get an answer. Do I hear from the board that we are good right now, given what Tina had said? Are we good with the language that we had read through and under special events and calling out the tree lighting, the Cape Porpoise tree lighting, and a parade, taking away the weekend references, leaving these other languages, and waiting for legal guidance, but putting in, until we know otherwise, up or down, special community event? Are we good with that language to submit to the lawyer? And I think this is probably going to come back the first weekend in August, or the first meeting in August, so that we can go through and get the legal feedback of where we are. And we will have the answer on whether or not, we'll have the answer before on whether or not this is a done deal. Is the board, so can I just get a show of hands if everybody's
Are you
okay?
talking just about A
A and B,
and B? Okay.
are we okay?
I'm okay.
I'm fine.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's, Lori, we good?
Yes.
Well, that was fun.
She was good an hour
I think you were good an hour ago, probably.
Moving right along. All right.
You all have to stay to the end.
Yeah.
That's right.
If we have to
We
stay,
suffered
you have
through
to
this.
stay. No leaving. Dave, Mike, lock the door. All right, let's go to, consider animal committee appointments.
Yes. Folks.
No, you
Not
really
feeling
should
the
stay.
love.
Bye.
Not
Thanks a
feeling the
lot.
love, guys. Not feeling the love. Well, I'm gonna take a 2-minute break then. 'cause
Yeah.
This Joe already got up.
Can-
All right.
Can you hear me now? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about, committee appointments.
Yes. Tracy O'Rourke, Town Clerk. And every year at this time, we reappoint our committee members for our various committees. Some of them have 1-year terms, some of them have 3-year terms, but that's all broken out on the spreadsheet that you were given.
Right.
It lists the person's name, the committee they are being reappointed to, and the expiration of their term.
We're back in
We're
session,
back in
gentlemen.
session.
And then there's a separate sheet that has 6 people who would like to be appointed, so we're just putting them all in at this time as well. And you were given their applications. So we have Kevin Bridges for Shellfish Committee, and then we have 2 applicants for the Kennebunk River Committee with 1 opening. So Susan Graham and Richard Michael. And then for Cemetery Committee, we have Jane Firth, and ZBA, we have April Dufault, who was previously on the committee but had to take a one-year break because she had hit her term limit. So that's what I have for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we obviously can vote in the ones that are filling. You're restarting. And then we have a decision to make on the Kennebunk River Committee between the two applicants of Susan Graham and,
You want to say something, Mike?
sure.
Yes.
So Laura Azevedo, Kennebunkport. I'm also a member of the River Committee. My understanding is the interlocal agreement states that each town is allowed to also appoint an alternate. And it would be great if the committee could accept both applicants and just have one of them be an alternate. I don't know if that's possible.
Is that in the
correct?
I'm
river?
not familiar with I'd have to look at it. I'm not
Okay.
familiar with the alternate position.
Okay.
So do we want, can
So-
we table this one until
Yeah, I
we
think
find
we
out
should.
about the alternate?
Yes.
Because then that would be a different discussion. Do you want to do that?
I have a copy of the interlocal agreement that says that excuse me.
Come
Up
to
to
the
the
mic,
mic.
Susan.
I can't hear you.
Yes, that's.
I apologize for jumping up, but I have a copy of the interlocal agreement for the River Committee, which does say that the town can appoint an alternate. Let me just see if I can find it for you.
All righty.
So,
Well, how about if I move the others for right
what's
now?
that?
How about if I move the other ones for right
Yeah, so,
While you're
let's-
looking for that, how about if
Yeah,
I
so
make a
go ahead.
motion to
Go ahead.
approve Kevin Bridges to the Shellfish Conservation Committee, I appoint Jane Firth to the Cemetery Committee, and April Dufault to the ZBA.
thanks.
Second.
I have a first and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, so now we're back to the River Committee. So I have something amended. Oh, there you go, an amendment. Amended and restated. Interlocal agreement, Kennebunk River Committee. Huh. Section something, 2.3, each municipality may appoint alternates for one or more of its members. Any alternate is authorized to vote in place of a required member for his or her municipality if the regular member is unable to attend the meeting and is unable to participate due to a conflict of interest or is unable to participate for any other reason. An alternate may be appointed for the non-residential member if agreed to by the Board of Selectmen of each member municipality. Such an alternate will be appointed in the same manner as the non-resident member. Oh, a non-resident member.
Okay, these are both residents, so we're
Yeah,
good there.
we're good. Okay, so let's make this easy. Does one of you want to be an alternate? Okay, so I will take
Is Michael
them.
here? Is Richard here?
Yes, Richard's here.
Richard's right here.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Richard, do you want,
We've
You're
been waiting
good
for
for
a
being-
long
do you two
meeting.
want to fight it out?
No,
And
she
we
just
can-
said
No,
she
she wants to be an
was-
alternate?
Yeah, all right, so.
You can flip a coin.
So I'll take an amendment to.
I'll make
I'd
a
like to
motion.
good.
Go ahead,
Okay.
you do it.
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Richard Michael as the representative to the Kennebunk River Committee and Susan Graham as the alternate representative to the Kennebunk River Committee,
Second.
With a term expiring June 2027.
with a term expiring June 2027. 7? Really?
29, it says.
29.
29, huh?
No, that's the ZBA.
The River Committee is
Oh.
27.
27.
This says 29.
Okay, well.
No, it says 27 for the, oh, no, it
No,
doesn't.
it does, it says 29.
No, it says 27.
Yeah, it says
No.
29.
Yeah, to the River Committee
In
with a term
20
expiring
It's
27.
27.
I,
It's only 1 year?
it says 29.
Yeah, but we should be asking the town clerk.
We will ask the town clerk. Town clerk.
So I have 29 on my sheet.
I have 29 on my sheet.
Yes, I have 29. They're 3-year terms.
I have
Okay.
27 on mine, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
motion
matter.
says
That's because the
27.
motion I put 27.
Oh,
and I
okay,
was
well,
wrong.
there you go, all righty. So for 29.
Second. Did you second?
Yes,
You
yes.
seconded, all right.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
I think we've discussed.
Tracy, thank you.
Sure, and then you're going to appoint everyone else, reappoint.
Dave did.
Oh, you already did,
We
okay.
did
Oh,
that.
We haven't done the others, though, have we?
Yeah, Dave already did.
No,
The
I
whole
didn't. I
slate?
just
I didn't do
I
the big
did- I
slate.
did Bridges, I didn't.
No,
No,
the
that-
people who are
that's-
being reappointed, the big list.
I would move that we accept the big list of reappointments.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
That moved
Did
along
we
pretty
make a
good.
motion for the shellfish and cemetery?
Yes, yes, we
I
did.
thought you did, and
David
then
did.
Laura stood up.
No, I did when Susan was looking for
He
the.
did.
Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Did
good,
we
good,
vote?
good,
So
thank
Su-
you.
We did.
Shellfish,
Okay, I don't
cemetery,
remember.
and ZBA.
Yeah, you did.
I don't
All right.
remember much
I
right
don't
now.
remember
We're
much.
going back, guys. You ready?
Oh, are you?
Go on,
okay.
get
No,
out of here.
we're
Can I-
done.
One quick question.
No,
They're all leaving
no,
us. This is-
no.
About the committees?
No.
Kate,
Are
no.
you appointing your, I mean, are you changing out who's going to be with which committee?
We already
of you
did that
guys?
last meeting. That's in
Oh.
the packet set.
John, are you still BAC?
Yeah.
Kate, please.
I'm going. Believe me, I'm out of here.
Come on, wait, she's a taxpayer, come on.
We're in a meeting.
Yeah, a public meeting.
All right,
Yes,
let's go,
and it's
keep
not
moving.
open session, Joe.
Open to the public meeting.
Joe, it's not open session. Okay, so item 10, okay, so item 10.
So I'm coming before the board to ask the board to confirm my desire to change the position title for the Support Services Director to Assistant Town Manager. This action does not create a new position or increase staffing levels. I think the title more accurately describes the level of responsibility and organizational leadership the position now provides. The individual in the Support Services Director position oversees human resources, communications, and information technology. That would not change, that would continue, but they also assist with cross-departmental initiatives and assisting with the culture and development of our personnel. And I think that it recognizes the responsibilities that are already being performed while bringing greater clarity to employees, elected officials, and other agencies. As a support services director is a position that most people don't recognize.
Right,
Right.
perfect.
Right, so I think this is, as Lori has stated, you know, we have a person that's, does tremendous support gives tremendous support to the town through her position, her job, and she's already working basically the title.
Yep.
And the title that she has right now is not really relevant.
Right.
And so I'm not sure if there's any discussion or if anyone wants to make any
100%.
comment.
We may have to have a big discussion about this.
I just would like to say that she deserves it.
I agree, and I'll make a motion to, confirm the appointment of Yanina Nicholas as Assistant Town Manager.
Second.
Any more discussion?
I think it's a very good move.
Yes, I think it's a good move, and I appreciate this coming forward to the board. And we appreciate Yanina and everything that she's delivered to us. She's helped us out many, many times beyond actually the scope of her job. So I'll take a
Are you going
motion.
to speak?
We had the
We
motion.
had a motion and a second.
And a
We
second.
Okay,
haven't voted
all in
yet.
favor?
Hey,
There we
yay!
go.
Can we do an all in favor?
We did all in favor.
Okay.
Two hands.
Okay.
I'll just want to say thank you very much. I'm genuinely disappointed because I thought the crowd came for this item.
I know.
Well, right,
But
you know what,
they
this
didn't.
should have been put first on the agenda.
But I just wanted to say thank you so much for your support. And 7 years ago, when I started as an intern in this community, I thought it's going to be a temporary, just a summer gig that turned into a meaningful career with wonderful people for the community that I deeply, deeply care about. And this appointment means just the whole world to me. And I appreciate it so much. I love working with all of you. Thank you, Lori, and thank you to all the staff members in the support. And I am ready to come back and give back even more than I've ever did. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay. Blah, blah, blah.
Ducks.
Item 11. So this is a request from the Kennebunkport Rotary to sell ducks at Dock Square parking lot and to rename Dock Square to Duck Square on August 15th. Each year, the Kennebunkport Rotary requests permission to sell their fundraising ducks in Dock Square and to rename the square for one day in August. The staff has recommended approval. I will entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve the renaming of Dock Square to Duck Square on August 15th and approve the selling of ducks on that date.
Second.
Any discussions? All in favor? Thank you.
And I just want to let folks know that you can buy them at Bradbury's Cape Porpoise Kitchen on Saturday and Sundays from 9 to 12.
Thank you, David.
Is it a community event, a commercial event?
All right, moving right along. We have an acceptance of donation, a donation of $975 from the American Legion, post number 159, to the Public Health for fuel assistance to a disabled veteran. And we have a donation for firefighters park playground totaling $2,150.
Marvelous.
I would take a motion to accept this with
I make a
gratitude.
motion to accept all funds with gratitude.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Other business.
I'd shoot you, anybody that has other business.
Joe,
Okay.
I have one thing. I have one.
Committee.
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
No, no, I'm joking.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Just
wait, well, let's just go down.
No, thank you.
Now,
as a select board liaison to the Graves Library, I have to let people know that the Secret Garden Tours of the Kennebunks is this Saturday. Get your tickets
You
and
think
find out
anybody
where the
is still
beautiful
listening?
gardens are in town.
Okay, very good. The GPC meeting this week, we did the floodplain maps. That's gonna be coming into the board hopefully, so that you guys can get a view of the levels and see
Good.
the growth areas. And I received the thank you card for the board, lovely blueberries. This is from the Seacoast Garden Club for recognizing them, so
Oh,
a
that's
nice,
nice.
a
That's
nice card to the
That's
board.
nice.
And that's all
Good
I
for
got.
them.
Lori?
I have handed out the memorandum from Frank Ora Harbor Master regarding the float bid. So this did not make it into the packet, but I did receive it on Tuesday. And we had put the 6 wooden floats out to bid that are the old floats from Cape Porpoise Pier. We only received one bid from Robert Zook Builders, and for $1,507.20. And I'm wondering if the board would award that to him.
I'd like to make a motion to award to Robert Zook Builders in the amount of $1,507.20 for the floats.
How did he come up with that
That's-
number?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, great.
Sure it wasn't
Okay,
25
do we have any other?
$1,500.
Okay, so I will take a motion to approve the July 9th, 2026 treasure warrant.
He's probably an engineer.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. And
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
All opposed?
Good job.